Where are you? Tweet is sent. Next. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 210 of Salvaggio and Cratty, here for you again, Wednesday, October 9th, 7 p.m. sharp. NHL season preview and a whole lot more. Talk about the Bruins, talk about Jeremy Swayman's new contract, and we'll talk our normal spiel on the Patriots and the NFL after that. But before we get started with anything on this Wednesday night, Ryan, how are you doing?
Not bad. Some good news, some bad news this week. Obviously, we know Drake Maye. The Drake Maye era has begun with New England, but then on the flip side of that, the Bruins got the bag beat out of them last night by a team that we just can't stand in the Florida Panthers. So kind of up and down last 24 hours, but we're here to talk about it all and more, of course, with everything going on with the Patriots, everything going on with the Bruins, and as you mentioned, the NHL season officially kicking off and underway over these last couple of days.
Yes, and as I just tweet out real quick, yeah, I mean, the Panthers are just remaining public enemy number one. That's kind of expected, even with some offseason departures from their team that are big. They're still very good. We saw that last night. I figured we would start with the preview, though, because that's one of the main focuses. We'll get to the Bruins. We'll get to Swayman, don't you worry. Our faithful listeners. And yeah, we'll just go from there. So we'll go to football after that and all that good stuff. I'm excited. I am terrified about one team, which we'll get to. I think a lot of people are, if you're not a fan of said team. But yeah, we'll get to all that and a whole lot more. I guess we'll just start with the Atlantic. We'll do standings predictions. I have Florida staying on top. A little bit influenced by last night, which is a little bit of cheating, but I don't know. I have concerns about the Montour and Ekman-Larsson losses. I think what's up, Sports Addicts Network on YouTube? How you doing in the chat? Yeah, like they're still the class of the NHL. We saw it last night. The Bruins clawed back a little bit, got some, some garbage time goals, had some moments throughout the game, but Florida's still really good. Of course, the rich get richer. They get their banner ceremony, they get their rings, and then they win, and then they announce Carter Verhaeghe gets a contract extension at $7 million a year, which sucks. A guy I would have loved the Bruins to pluck away if he hit free agency next year, but that never really seemed like a huge possibility. So it's not like my world came crashing down. Just a guy I would have loved for them to target next summer. Yeah, Florida's still going to be really good. I think Montour is a big loss, but I think they'll be fine. There are going to be sore nights for the defense, whether they're going to miss those guys like him and Ekman-Larsson. But they also lose Tarasenko. It's still really good, though. Really good team, and they won the Cup, so you got to show them their respect. I am putting the Bruins at second, though. I really wanted to say the Bruins are going to win. I just couldn't get there. I couldn't get them there for them to win the division, but there's good value in betting on such a thing. I think they're like plus 550 to win the Atlantic or something. Don't quote me on that. I mean, we know the Bruins made their big splashes this offseason with Lindholm and Zadorov, added a couple other pieces as well. One that didn't look great last night. We'll get to that later. A certain forward that missed some time in camp. Yeah, I mean, no Olmark, so that stinks. You lose some depth scoring, like DeBrusk and JVR, some pieces here and there. Nothing too crazy. Patra is a little banged up to start the season. Hopefully we'll see him soon. Hopefully he can relish the third line role. Maybe they do a hide-in thing and they bring in Tyler Johnson late in the month, like they did with Heinen October 30th last year. Bruins are still going to be really good. They'll be in the playoffs. We'll see how the goaltending looks without a two-headed monster, because it was pretty rough last night for Joonas Korpisalo at times, and the team around him was rough. So not all on him, but definitely some blame going his way, reasonably so. But it was a tough first one. We'll get more into the Bruins later. But yeah, that's where I stand on them. I think they're finishing no less than third in the Atlantic, and I have them going second. A lot of people have Toronto at the top of the division. I don't. I do like what they've done with their defense, adding Tanev and Ekman Larson. I do like the Berube hire for them. If they, are to beat the Bruins this year, maybe it's with the coach that beat them in the Cup Finals in 2019 and with a better defense, which has been a sore spot for them. Forward depth, like they're pretty much the same. I don't know how much Max Pacioretty is going to have much of an impact, how much of an impact he's going to have, or if he can stay healthy. The guy has horrible injury luck. But he'll add some scoring. But yeah, I mean, Joseph Woll's already banged up. You got Stolars and Dennis Hildeby now. We'll see how their goaltending can do. If Stolars is great performances last year with Florida, we're a product of the system, or if he actually is ready to potentially take the starting job in Toronto is another thing I'm interested to see. But Toronto's gonna be good. They're definitely a playoff team. I just don't know if they're gonna finish higher than Florida or Boston. Tampa Bay at 4. You downgrade Sergachev to JJ Moser, whether you think that's a downgrade or not. In some ways it is, some ways it isn't, maybe. With that big trade, no Stamkos for the first time in forever. They're still going to make the playoffs, though. They're still Tampa, Vasilevsky, Kucherov, points ready to take on, guys are going to have to pick up the scoring slack a little bit all around the lineup. With Stamkos gone, they're still really good. They're still Tampa. They'll make playoffs. But maybe it's going to be a little tougher this year. Victor Hedman's first year as captain. The 4 through 7 spots in the Atlantic are just clusterfuck. Like it could go any combination. I have Detroit at 5th, and I don't think they're going to be separated much from my next team. Detroit, they add Tarasenko, their goalie situation. They have Jack Campbell. They had Jack Campbell. He went to the player assistance program. He was in the mix maybe to be the backup. Husso's hurt. Cam Talbot comes in. I think they might still have Alex Lyon. I might be wrong though. The goaltending could be ugly, but the defense should be okay. The forward depth is good. They're going to have to score a lot. I have Detroit just missing, though. Ottawa, I do think they get a boost from Ullmark, who got his contract extension today. Maybe Jeremy Swayman was just waiting to get his buddy the same dollar amount, which is just hilarious. But yeah, good for Ullmark. I mean, for his sake, too, it might be harder for him to succeed in the system. It's much different system in Ottawa than it is in Boston. So why not take the money now?
True.
If his money could go down, if he's struggling or not getting defensive help, I like it. I mean, it's only 4 years too. He's not like a spring chicken young goalie anymore, but you'll take that. I think if you're Ullmark, and capitalize, he did today. So shout out to him. I do think he gives them a boost, but this is another team I need to see another level. I don't know if goaltending fixes everything, and that's part of the reason why I don't have them in the playoffs, but I can see them finishing at 5. I absolutely could, jumping out from where they were last year, where they really struggled. But yeah, you need Josh Norris to be healthy. You need your top 6 forwards to carry the load, and they had some new bottom six guys. We'll see how it works. Jacob Chikrin's no longer on the team. He's on Washington. I have Buffalo at 7. Look, it's got to be at a certain point where, to me at least, we're talking about Buffalo is this finally the year? It's finally going to be the year. It's finally the year. And they never do it. And all they did this offseason was add Jason Zucker.
Probably not.
That doesn't move. That doesn't move the needle. Yuri Kulik is going to make the team. He's an excellent AHL scorer. First round pick from a few years ago. Maybe he gives them a huge boost. Maybe the young guys really do elevate that team. I don't know if I believe it yet. I think that 5 to 7 range is not going to be separated by much, though. I'm not saying the Sabres are 12 games under 500 in 7th place, but it's going to be tight in there, I think. So the Sabres are just they might be 1 or 2 points out of that 6th seed. They just didn't do enough for me. They traded a 2nd round pick for Beck Mellonston, which made no sense, still doesn't. They're just relying on their young core to take another step and goaltending to be good, which, goaltending could be fine with Luukkonen and Levi. I just don't know if it gets them close to the playoffs. But again, any one of these teams could finish 5, 6, 7. It could go in any of that order. The basement team for me still is Montreal. They'd be a little more positive outlook wise if Laine wasn't hurt to start the season, but he's just had such a rough few years. He gets knee checked in the postseason, preseason rather. They're like, I don't know. The goaltending is just a real sore spot for me with Montreal, and that's a huge thing and why I look at them so poorly. Lane Hudson could win the Calder. I think he's a huge infusion of talent to the back end. We'll see how he handles the physical rigors of a full NHL season as an undersized defenseman, but it's not there yet. Like something needs to really give me that confidence and take them out of the basement. And one of the things that would have helped Laine, if he's back on his game, he's hurt for a while. I just don't know. It's not there yet. Look, they could get out of the basement, finish 7, maybe. I don't know though. I don't see it yet. The goaltending isn't there. I don't like the makeup back there, and I think they're gonna let in a lot of goals and struggle to get out of the basement this year.
The Laine thing seems like a bad omen for them right out of the gate because it was a guy that obviously was dealing with stuff off the ice, coming back, trying to like have a good comeback season, of course, and then that happens a couple games in or a couple weeks into the preseason, so right before the season starts, obviously, so not a great look there. You obviously wish a speedy recovery for him because, like you said, obviously a great player when he is at the top of his game, and that just, like I said, you see that happen. If you're a Canadiens fan, you have to be sitting there going like, all right, maybe one of the few things we have to look forward to this year is a resurgence from him, and now that's completely off the table, at least for a while. So that sucks if you're looking for him to come back.
Yeah, they have something being built. They still need to build out the defense around the guys like Hudson and Gooley. I still think their forward depth could be a little better, and the goaltending is just no. So they are in the basement. What about your Atlantic Division, Ryan?
Yeah, mine's a little different. I'm sticking with I'm going to take the Maple Leafs for the top spot. They are, of course, as we know, people that know me, I call them the Yankees of hockey because they are a great regular season team, and then they just completely fall apart in the playoffs, as we know. They got all the offensive ability. I think Austin Matthews is primed for another great year. Like I agree with you. I think they did some work to retool their defense, which obviously has needed help over the years. So I think that's going to help them get to the top. And again, like I said, very good regular season team. They know what it takes to win during the regular season. I put Florida in 2 because I thought maybe there would be a little bit of a Stanley Cup hangover. We tend to see that from teams right out of the gate. And then last night proved me wrong completely. Obviously, a nice little gift for the Panthers to get the Bruins right out of the gate because we know how much that team is just in the Bruins' head at this point. And like you said, we'll talk about the game a little later. But I got Florida too. It's still a very good team on paper. Bobrovsky's still great in net. So I think they finished 2. Boston, I have 3. I'm going to need to see some consistency out of them. Obviously, you touched on some of the big offseason moves, but I think there are still some question marks. I don't think Swayman's going to get off to a slow start, but it is kind of curious to see with him, kind of lead up to the season, if there is a little bit of sluggishness. You saw last night, maybe a little bit of a panic move here, but not much of a backup goalie 1 game into the season. So I think there will be a little bit of a letdown when it comes to obviously moving on from Omar to Korpisalo. So you're probably not going to have as many wins from your backup goalie as you would we've been used to in the past. So that's going to sting. But they'll still be fine. They'll still be a playoff team, like you said. I agree with you. I don't see them finishing anywhere lower than 3rd. And 4 for me is Tampa Bay. Obviously, you can never count the Lightning out. No matter what they do, they always seem to find a way.
They replaced Steven Stamkos with Jake Gensel.
Yeah, exactly. Like they just it's interchangeable for them. They always, even if they're struggling at some point in the season, they find a way, I feel like, to kind of scrap their way into the playoffs and then maybe surprise some people. So again, they're kind of like, until you prove me wrong, until you really have a fall off, I'm not going to pick against you. So I got the Lightning as the 4th and final team to make the playoffs in the Atlantic Division. And then I agree with you. My 5 through 8's a little different, or 5 through 7's a little different. 8 is consistent. I have Ottawa 5. I think the Ullmark move is going to help them. Obviously, I think goaltending goes a long way in this league, so he'll be a nice kind of piece to build around for them. Obviously, with the contract extension, like you said. Buffalo for me is 6, 7 Detroit. Again, I agree with you that that's interchangeable. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if those 3 teams kind of all fall within 2 to 5 points of each other, because I just think they're the same kind of level of average at this point in time. And then Montreal, like you said, they're still building towards something. The Laine move is rather missed now, is going to hurt them, I think, a lot. So I have them as the 8th and final team in the basement.
Yeah, I think all reasonable picks. I don't have any crazy disagreements here. So, like it's the top 4 will change when it changes, but I don't see it happen yet. I'll believe it when I see it. It's one of the things in that camp of thinking. Onto the Metro, we'll stay in the East. I have the Rangers taking the Metro this year. You got a goalie that's rejecting $11 million a year, clearly playing motivated, despite saying he would, love to get the the extension done before the season. Clearly, 11 million isn't enough.
I guess,
So,
yeah.
that was wild. Glad we got the Swayman deal done. Makes me a little more happy. They're really good still. I mean, they have a rookie debuting, Victor Mancini, who I didn't know existed. So that's a new guy on defense for them with Ryan Lindgren out. I noticed. I feel like I wanted to bring that up because I don't know if a lot of people know who this guy is. I didn't either. They got Riley Smith from the Penguins. I retained money. Riley Smith's just like a good bet for 50 points, maybe
Solid,
like 20
absolutely.
goals.
Yep.
Just won a cup. He'll plug in fine. It's better than throwing Capo Caco in there. We know how he is at this point. They're just still really good. Like their top six nucleus works. They have their moments where they don't, but overall they do, and they're gonna get in the playoffs. Like the Rangers still a playoff team. They have a motivated goalie, and a great defense. When Lindgren comes back, that'll help even more. Carolina could take a bit of a step back, but like they did supplement some losses well with like Sean Walker and Gostisbehere coming back. Who's they lost Tara Vinen. Seth Jarvis is, I think, primed for a breakout though. The center depth, like outside of Aho, you gotta hope Jordan Stahl can still be the defensive guy. Kokoniemi isn't much. Jack Drury is going to be relied on for a little more. I don't love the center depth. Of course, as we know, Kuznetsov was acquired by them, but went back to Russia. They would have loved to have him around, but, his wishes were to be in Russia. So, that was all accommodated. They signed William Carrier to a 6-year deal. Great player, but it's just like kind of like a weird, hilarious, kind of like in the Nick Paul mold when Tampa Bay signed him for 7 years. Their depth's a little different. Maybe we'll see young guys like Bradley Nadeau and Felix Angersorum come up and give them some offensive infusion. But they might take a little bit of a step back, but their team defense is still good. Freddie Anderson's getting older, but he's, proven he can be lights out still. He did that a little bit last year late. And they got Kochikov, who's a good young Russian goalie as a backup. They'll still be good. Sean Walker is a nice pickup. And I think they'll be all right. But they did lose Brett Pesce, who, didn't have the best season last year in New Jersey, but I mean, when you're replacing with Sean Walker, I think you're okay with that. Speaking of New Jersey, I have them at third. They return to the playoffs. A team that gets a big time goalie and it gets them into the playoffs, not quite like Ottawa. New Jersey just has a better makeup of their roster. I think their defense has one of the most exciting groups. Shout out to Kovacevic, who's there now too. I think he had 2 points in his first game. Briefly might have led the league in points. The only Merrimack Warrior in the NHL right now. So, I mean, if they can stay healthy, Luke Hughes is back skating. He'll miss some time though. Dougie Hamilton's back. They had Brett Pesce. Seamus Casey looks great as a rookie so far. Simone Nemitz. They're stacked on defense. They had Brendan Dillon too. Up front, Timo Meyer, Jack Hughes, Jesper Bratt, the whole crew. Their forward core didn't change a ton, but if not really at all, they got like Paul Cotter and traded like Alex Holtz. That's really about it, if I'm remembering correctly. Outside of maybe some minor stuff that nobody really cares about. Yeah, I mean, New Jersey, if it's a big failure if they don't get back to the playoffs. Like Markstrom is a guy they needed. They have Allen to back him up too. That's an upgrade too at the goalie position. They revitalized their goalie position. Their defense could be really, really good and produce a lot too. And they have stars on that team, and if they show up, they're going to score goals and they're going to get contributions from the back end and in the net. This should absolutely be a playoff team this year. Washington at 4. I like what they did. The Matt Roy contract was unexpectedly large, but he helps them on defense. So does Jacob Chikrin. They get Adrian Mangiapane. We'll see how Pierre-Luc Dubois pans out. If that could be the landing spot, he finally figures it out. That could be huge for them. You got Ovi chasing history. Oshie's out to start the year. Don't know when he'll be back. They're good. Like they got Brandon Duhaime for a little sandpaper in the bottom 6. I love Brandon Duhaime. We'll see Miro Shevchenko. They sent Hendrik Lapierre down. They got a good mix. I like what they did in the offseason. They squeaked into the playoffs last year with a much lesser roster. I think they make the playoffs this year with this roster. And Spencer Carberry's a great fit at coach. Talk about him later. Little spoiler. I get Philly ahead of Pittsburgh at 5. I like, Tortorella's working there. I think Matvei Michkov comes in as a rookie and is an interesting contributor, potentially 60, 70 points, like that good. Torts has made it work there, and we'll see how Samuel Urson and Ivan Fedotov work in net. Guys that still have some stuff to prove. Defense is fine enough. Maybe they could use a big forward at the deadline, but like I like the group. I like the way Torts has them playing, and I think they're going to be another like team that's just like annoying to beat, and maybe they just miss out. But Travis Konechny, no more financial questions. He should be ready to go. He could have a career year, I think. Owen Tippett's a great fit. I like their group. So they're just not quite there. They're close. Maybe they beat out Washington. They're close, but I like that group to be in the mix for a wild card spot. Pittsburgh at 6. Crosby, Malkin, Carlson, Letang, great. Goaltending, questionable at times. Their depth is just not good. They're hoping Rucker McGroarty can come in and be a big player for them as a rookie. It's just like this team will get them as far as Sidney Crosby pulls them because it's his 20th year, but he's still going to be elite. Just realized I don't have my laptop charger here. I'm going to have to grab that. Matt, if you're listening, if you could run into my room and grab my laptop charger, that would be wicked appreciated.
Flag him
Thank
down.
you.
Send him a text.
Let's see. Let's check if he's watching because he
Yeah.
will.
Let's see if he's like a fan that he says he is, watching all the shows.
See.
And yeah,
he is home. He
might expose him tonight.
So, but yeah, like Pittsburgh will get as far as Crosby takes them, and I don't like their depth. They got old friend Mac Grzelcyk. I think their defense still needs some work, like outside of Carlson and Letang, and maybe Marcus Pettersson, but they're just they need some work. Like Crosby can only do so much, and he can do a lot. So that's that's another angle on it. It gets to a point with the Islanders, not quite in the same like ecosystem, I guess, to not find a good term for it, as the Sabres. If you do very minimal to get better every year, it's gonna like just lead to regression, I think. They waived Pierre Engvall, who they clearly didn't think was good enough. He's got like 5 years left on his deal. All they really did for me is like add Anthony Duclair, and that doesn't like Anthony Duclair is great, and I'm glad he's found a landing spot because he's bounced around so much and he's a great player. But like I don't know, there's not enough to excite me about this Islanders team. Like I think a Crosby-led, poor depth having Penguins team finishes ahead of them. Like it has to come back to bite them. They don't do anything to really excite fans. Like they're just a boring hockey team. Like we say it every year, but they are. Like it just is what it is. They're very boring. Columbus is just they're gonna have a rough year. They're in the basement. Hopefully Zach Werenski can stay healthy for them. Unfortunately, with the death of Johnny Gaudreau, significantly hampers their scoring. They're gonna be playing for a lot this year, playing for Johnny. You got a guy like Adam Fantilli looking to take a next step as a former 3rd overall pick. But they're not super deep. Their defense is fine. Their goaltending is questionable. I just couldn't take them out of the basement. But they are playing for something this year, and that could be a huge thing. So
that's what I kind of wondered. I was going to ask you.
Interesting.
Going to ask you about that. How much does you think that carries or could carry a team? Because I was kind of looking too. I'm like, I don't want to put them in the basement because I think there will be a little bit of that. But then, like again, looking at the team as a whole, like there really isn't a whole lot there to make me think like they're going to beat some of these other teams out.
Yeah, I don't know. Like it's gonna take some time to fix things.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean they're playing for something this year. We'll see how far that gets them. But like it's gonna be a tough year probably for Columbus. Matt wasn't paying attention. I had to text him to get the charger. Thank you though, Matt.
Came through anyway. Look at that.
You gotta pay attention better. I thought you were watching the show. Come on.
Does he have a hockey pick while he's there?
He's gone. He's back.
Oh, all right. Well,
watching now.
That's that. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
So we did expose him in the end.
Did expose him.
True fan my ass.
True fan my ass. Come on, Durango. Yep, that's about it on the Metro. What about you?
Yeah, I mean the top. This kind of falls the same as the Atlantic for me. The top three, I feel like, are obviously we just with the Atlantic. It's usually the top four, but the top three, I feel like, are kind of interchangeable here when it comes to the Metro. I have the Rangers at number one. I think they're one of the more, if not the most complete teams in hockey, as you talked about earlier. So I have them taking the division. New Jersey, I think getting Markstrom's obviously going to go a long way for them. We talked about, or you talked about it more so, numerous times with the hockey stuff last year, is they were really just a goalie away from being a solid team. Obviously, they get a good goalie this year, so I think that'll do wonders for them. Have them as the two. Carolina for me is the three. Again, very balanced team. Could definitely see them kind of interchange with New Jersey and maybe even make a run at the top spot in the Metro. But again, I just think the Rangers and Devils are built a little bit better than the Carolina Panthers right now. I had no idea what to do for the four spot. I went Washington at one point. I went Pittsburgh. I kind of looked at, like I texted you earlier, some analyst picks or just some predictions for the year. I went the Islanders, and after you talked about them being boring, I kind of hate that pick, but I'll just ride with him for the sake of it. I'll ride with Sorokin. I like him. Obviously, as a goalie, I think he could very easily put that team on his back and have them play well. Barzell is going to have a very good year as well, as he usually does. So maybe the Islanders surprising people and make that pick not look as maybe crazy as it does to people who have followed hockey closer than I have this offseason. Five for me is Washington. Six, Pittsburgh. Like, it is interesting with the Penguins because, like, I want to pick them to be a playoff team with all that talent and all those veteran guys, but you got to think age is going to catch up with them at some point. So maybe there's some slippage there. That's obviously kind of a wait and see thing. Philadelphia, you mentioned a young team, so maybe, not ready just yet. But they are building a good solid group there. I have them as the 7th spot. And then Columbus, we just talked about them as the 8th. Tough spot with them, obviously, with the Gaudreau situation. Again, you hope for their sake it's something that kind of propels them forward, but again, just the lack of overall talent on that roster, I think, is going to probably come back to kind of be the thing that has them struggle this year.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a tough spot. Yeah, the Islanders, they want a chance. Like, you have to just have the goaltending put you on the back a little bit. Like, even you think adding Bo Horvat a couple summers ago or
Would have done something, yeah.
deadlines ago would do something extra. It just doesn't. Like, I like Brock Nelson a lot too. Like, I've been a huge Barzal fan for a while. Like, I just that it's just an unexciting group that, like, they're in this camp, like, and when they're in the playoffs, outside of last year, really, like, they do make things interesting sometimes. Last year was rough, like they were outmatched, but I don't know. I think there's some regression. I don't feel great about 7, but it felt right. Like, I couldn't reasonably put them over Pittsburgh in the end. I wanted to,
Mm-hmm.
but it just couldn't get there. And maybe I'm higher on Philly than some. We'll see. We'll see if Torts year 2 works. On to the Central. Dallas is at the top, and Dallas is still really good. Dallas's right side is kind of rough though on that defense, which kind of worries me. Hello, Ava Ellison _2 from the Twitch chat. We're getting YouTube and Twitch activity in the chat. Nice. Love to see that. Yeah, like it's like, I think it's Matt Dumba on that team. It's like Labushkin, Lundqvist, and Dumba. I think it's just really rough. But their left side can carry a little bit. Maybe Heiskanen or Thomas Harley, one of them moves over to the right to help out a little bit over there. I don't know at some point, but that's an area they might want to upgrade. Obviously, Chris Tanev didn't stay there. He goes to Toronto. Yeah, I mean, they're still really good though. Like, they're very deep. They lose Joe Pavelski, but you have Matt Duchene sticking around, Logan Stankoven and Quinn Calder. Maverick Bork will probably play a good amount this year. He's been an AHL stud like Stankoven was for a bit. They're still very good. Their forward core is loaded. Their defense could use a little bit of improvement, specifically on the right side. The left side is great. And Jake Ottinger's elite. So they should be at the top of the division, but we'll see how that right side affects them. If it does a little bit, we get the Colorado Avalanche, who might finally get Gabe Landeskog back this year, but he doesn't know. He said, like, September to May, you can see me anytime between then or something like that. Okay. But
doesn't really help. That whole put a timetable
cartilage, that whole cartilage replacement surgery is like really has been a really rough recovery for him. I hope he can come back. Gained an extra level of respect that I didn't need to from watching the NHL Amazon series. He's an animal. Yeah, but like, Colorado's still Colorado. McKinnon, Makar. They'll have some rookies. Callum Ritchie made the team, former first rounder. He had scored a sick goal in the preseason, very skilled. I know Nikolai Kovalenko's on the team. We'll see, how things ramp up there with, some guys that need to replace Nichushkin's production, because we don't know when he's going to come back. off his suspension and what that's going to look like when he's unsuspended. So, because it's been a rough few years for him. Like, how much do they trust him? I don't know what the deal is going to be there. But they're still Colorado. Like, they can outscore their goaltending deficiencies at times. Their defense is good, and their offense has stars. And Cale Makar is the most skilled defenseman to ever play the game. So, yeah, I mean, Georgiev and Anunin will have to be just sharp in net, and they'll make the playoffs. Nashville, the team that did it all this offseason. Stamkos and Marchessault, not just two huge forward upgrades, guys that have won Stanley Cups and are good veterans. And Brady Shea got a lot of money too, so he's going to be relied on. A big addition on defense. We'll see how effective he is. I think he'll be fine. They need to make like some sort of run this year, like right away. Clearly they're not fucking around. You have Tommy Novak, a guy that can take a step forward. They have a great forward core. O'Reilly fit well. Nyquist had a great year. I think Evangelista can take another step forward. Roman Yossi's great. Their defense is solid. They have Lozon who hits everything, old friend. I think they get a big boost from Brady Shea. And Saros is day-to-day right now, but he should be a pretty serviceable starting goalie for them. And we'll see how it works. Andrew Brunette, we saw him do wonders in New Jersey with an assistant coach role. We'll see how he does in year 2 as a coach, a head coach, and see if he can take this team into being a real big-time contender. I think they will be. Winnipeg at 4. Like, I don't know. This spot's up for grabs a little bit, maybe. Like, does Minnesota get back into the playoffs? Does Utah surprise people? They had a good start against Chicago last night. Like, they're playing for a lot. They're playing for the new city. They're fired up. But I still like Winnipeg. Like, they lose Brendan Dillon, that hurts on defense, but like forward depth is still good enough. You got Nikolai Ehlers playing for a contract year now. Connor Hellebuyck, like, I just can't put a team with Connor Hellebuyck outside of the playoffs, and they're still good. Like, maybe they didn't do anything crazy this offseason, but like, they're still good. Like, they're going to be in the mix for that 4 spot. I just don't know if they're like a lock to take it, but they still have some defensive identity. They have enough scoring. They have a great goaltender. So I do have Utah at 5 over Minnesota. I think Utah is going to be playing for something this year. They're not a bad team. Like, I think Dylan Guenther has a breakout season. I think Clayton Keller's still Clayton Keller. Logan Cooley's in that breakout camp as well. High draft pick. Really dynamically skilled player. Their defense got a significant upgrade with Sergachev and Marino. And Ingram and Vishmelka get it done in net. Like, I think they're going to be in the mix for a playoff spot unless, things go a little south. But I don't know. Like, maybe Utah gets in the playoffs in that first year. Different scenario, but we saw Seattle do it. So maybe Utah does it. I don't know. In their first year in a new city, at least. Obviously we're talking expansion versus relocation, but I don't know. I'm just kind of saying stuff at the end there. Minnesota really added Lauko and Jakub Trenin for 4 years for some reason. They're going to rely on rookies a little bit, though. Like, Marco Rossi, too, younger guy, not a rookie, might step into a bigger role, see how he does. Liam Ogren and Murat who's oh man, this last name is tough. Husnudinov, I think it's how you pronounce it.
If you can't say it, we're in trouble. That's usually my
yeah. I mean, we'll see how they can contribute as younger guys. They still have a good group there. I just don't know if they're getting back into the playoffs. They missed last year. Kirill Kaprizov is one of the best players in the world. He'll have to will them. Like, if he has like a hard trophy-esque season, maybe he wills them in. Their defense is fine. Fleury, we'll see how he holds up another year. Tread on the tires. They have Gustafsson. They have Jesper Wallstedt, who's maybe the best goalie prospect in the world if they need him. So that's good. Maybe Jesper Wallstedt steps in. And they start to see the future now. So, yeah, I don't know. I just couldn't put him in. I couldn't put him in over Winnipeg. But, there's a good, healthy competition to be had there for that final spot. St. Louis, they get Broberg, they get Holloway. They have some guys that I really like on that team, like Buchnevich and Robert Thomas. I just don't know how much Broberg helps their not so great defense. Krug's out for the year. Broberg get a great first game 1. Jordan Bennington isn't good, but he willed them as much as he could in terms of high danger. So if he can do that and they can score enough, maybe they're in the mix. I just don't think they will be. I think their defense still needs work. I don't know how much their offensive, more offensively talented players can elevate this team into the playoffs. I just don't know if it's going to be enough. And yeah, it's not a good formula. I still think that team needs work. And they have a new head coach, an interim who took over. I think his name's Drew Bannister. Chicago still in the basement, but like they added some good pieces and they're starting to see more of their young guys. They'll be in the basement, but they won't be as bad as last year. Connor Bedard's gonna be great. They got Bertuzzi, Teravainen, Craig Smith, Pat Maroon, just more former Bruins. Nolan Allen made the team, former second round pick on defense. We'll see how long he sticks around. And their goaltending, I mean, they still have Mrazek and Soderblom, so not the best crease. They're just in the basement. Maybe St. Louis is in the basement this year.
Wouldn't hate to see that.
I don't think it'll happen, but just throwing it out there for fun. Yeah, that's my Central Division.
Yeah, mine's pretty basic. Not gonna, sugarcoat it too much. Again, kind of the same four teams at the top: Dallas, Nashville, Colorado, and Winnipeg for me. Could see Utah for similar reasons, like you said, maybe make a run at that four spot, just kind of building off of again the new aura around the team, trying to will themselves to the playoffs, and that obviously would be a cool storyline to watch. Minnesota 6, St. Louis 7, and Chicago 8. I'm with you. Like Chicago, I considered trying to figure out is Chicago a little better than Minnesota? Are they a little better than St. Louis? Because I think there will be some solid improvements there. Good kind of mix of youth and veteran players. But again, it was kind of tough to put a team that young and that kind of inexperienced when it comes to what they're building. Anywhere above a team like St. Louis that has some pedigree, Minnesota, those type of teams. So again, kind of similar mold to what you had. Not gonna add too much to it.
Yeah, and like Chicago, they're in a big market. Like they knew they had to reload,
Yep,
and rebuild. Like they still have tons of draft picks. They want playoff games in Chicago as soon as possible. Like you got the guy, you've got guys. You got Frank Nazar waiting in the wings too, who I love, kind of like a Braden Point, but he's in the minors. Like we could see Chicago like maybe get out of the basement this year and maybe start competing next year, like or trying to maybe get in the wild card mix. Like they want playoff hockey back in Chicago. Like they're not gonna just rebuild and rebuild and rebuild forever. They're probably still gonna have a great draft pick this year, but maybe they need one more. I don't know. Maybe this is like the last bad year and then they start to pick it up.
yep.
We'll see. Edmonton is number one in my specific because Connor McDavid lost in the Stanley Cup final. And they are pissed. This is different like revenge tour territory for me. They have the coach, they have the star players, they have another one, one of the big guys locked up now, as we saw like a month ago with Draisaitl. They lose Broberg, they lose Holloway, that hurts depth. But like Jeff Skinner can get back to like 35, 40 goal pace playing with Draisaitl and or McDavid. Like Victor Arvidsson, a guy that's had flashed in the past, had like not the best couple years. Maybe he's just like a cheap plug and play, like awesome second line winger. The depth might not be great at times, but I don't know how much depth really matters when you have guys that can score billions of goals, and then you have a defenseman in Evan Bouchard who could like probably touch 90 points in that team. Bit different look on defense. You got guys like Ty Emberson and Travis Dermott in there now. A little bit of a different look. Defense will be fine, I think. They need Darnell Nurse to be better. Thank God for their sake they have Ekholm now. Because he's been such an amazing pickup for them. Edmonton's going to roll this year. They're very terrifying. McDavid, Draisaitl, Hyman. We'll see how Skinner and Arvidsson fit, and when Evander Kane comes back, because he's on long-term IR and he's kind of helping them in that sense, because they'd be fucked if he wasn't on long-term IR right now with the cap. So yeah, it's Edmonton's division this year. Vancouver's 2. I had Vancouver like 5 or 6 last year. They exceeded that quite a bit. Jake DeBrusk, Stanton Heinen, they proved they're better than some people, including me, might have thought. I don't love that third pairing if it's going to be like Derek Forbort and Vinny Desharnais. It's like two big guys that can't really skate.
Let's see.
That
might be a liability.
They signed Tyler Myers again, who also stinks. But when you have the Hughes and Hronik pairing, that can offset things a little bit because they're excellent together. I think they're sneaky deep. up front, and DeBrusque helps that. Heinen helps that. They keep Dakota Joshua around. They bring in Daniel Sprong for no money. This is a playoff team. I don't know if they're a cup contender, but like they're going to finish high in this division. They're going to finish second or third, and they're a good squad. Thatcher Demko's health will be a big thing, though. We've seen mixed reports all off season about his recovery, so we'll see how healthy he is because he's a huge part of that team. That makes a big difference. Vegas, the team that added Tomas Hertl last year out of nowhere. Their forward depth took a bit of a hit with Chandler Stevenson gone, Amadio gone. Defense is still great and large and powerful. So that helps them. That helped them win a cup. Logan Thompson's gone in net. It's Aiden Hill and Ilya Samsonov. Going to rely on some younger players. Maybe the depth hurts them, but there's still enough there, coaching structure wise and top end talent wise, with guys like Eichel and Stone and William Karlsson. It's gonna be a little bit of a different look, but maybe they get something out of Alexander Holtz, and that just annoyingly works out for them because he wasn't working out in New Jersey. But yeah, Vegas is 3 for me. They're still in the playoffs, but like they're gonna look a little different. They're gonna struggle at times. Their depth took some hits, but at the same time, when you add Tomas Hertl, that kind of stops the bleeding a little bit. Maybe not stop the bleeding is the right term, but like that helps. And Tomas Hertl could have an awesome year for them. And yeah, it'll just matter how they move forward with a new looking group. They'll still be pretty good. LA loses Matt Roy. They didn't really do a lot. They got Fogle and Janot. They got some young guys they need to step in and contribute, like Akil Thomas and Alex Turcotte finally. Brent Clark is going to probably be relied on to put up some points with Drew Doughty hurt. If he, breaks out, that's huge for their defense. Darcy Kemper, we'll see how he holds up in net. He was part of that huge Dubois trade that surprised everybody. And yeah, like they'll be in the mix, but like I'm not going to be surprised if LA misses the playoffs, but I am expecting a guy like Quentin Byfield to take another big step. I love Trevor Moore. Kopitar is still very good. Deneau is still very good defensively. Well, Kopitar maybe not very good, but like he's still on Zay Kopitar. Like he's a contributor. He's a great leader. Kevin Fiala. We'll see how it works, but I don't know. This team might be on the fringe. I don't know. Like I don't think they're gonna miss, but I won't be totally surprised if they do. But in this case, they'll play Edmonton in the first round and lose again. So that's just something they are probably dreading the idea of potentially happening. I know Quentin Byfield doesn't like it. He talks to the media. He's like, yeah, they've beaten us like 3 years in a row, so they're definitely a rival. Is it a rivalry though when they beat your ass all the time? It's one of those things like the Bruins Leafs type thing. Seattle at 5. I think Seattle gets close. They add Montour and Stevenson. That's big. We'll see how those deals work out. I think Montour is a huge piece for them. Goalie market. They got Joey Decord, the North Andover kid, locked up for 5 years. They've got $10.9 million tied up in goalies, which we'll see how that works for them. After this year, I think Decord makes like $1.2 million this year. Maybe they just try and move Grubauer in the offseason. That would be smart. Yeah, like they're good. They're still a little boring. They need, Matty Beniers to have a better season than last year. I still believe in him a lot. Shane Wright makes the team. The once, wunderkind back in his junior days, taking a little bit of time to develop, but maybe he can, burst onto the scene, be effective for them. I have them just missing though, but then it really falls off because Calgary looks a lot different than they did 2 years ago. They got Dustin Wolf and Daniel Ladar in net. No more Jacob Markstrom. It's just not a great looking team, and they're a team that was on the fringe for so long, so maybe some good draft picks and better draft picks is really going to help them. They get some things to work on. Like it's pretty simple with Calgary. They won't be touching the playoffs this year, I don't think. They're in like a quasi rebuild. The defense is still good. We'll see how the goaltending holds up, and they could use some more skill up front. But they have players. They'll be a fine team to watch. I think just they won't touch the playoffs. I've seen some people pretty rather high on Anaheim. I'm not. They really didn't do anything, to be honest. They took on 2 cap dumps and got Cutter Gauthier, which is great. Even though I hated how he handled himself in the national championship, I watched him at BC for 2 years. He's fantastic. like it's just John Gibson struggles with their bad defense. Their defense is still not great and very young and unproven. Like they need some time still. They had Robbie Fabry and Brian Dumoulin on cap dumps. They really didn't do anything. Like there was rumors they're going to trade Trevor Zegras. They didn't do that.
People are
This is a
excited for
team
the cap
that's
dumps. That's what it is. Like taking on the money.
like they're very puzzling. They're not close to a playoff team for me, like really at all. So I don't know what this is on my table here. Yeah, they're like I don't know. Maybe they finish above Calgary, but they're not sniffing playoffs really for me. I think they started hot last year and that didn't really go anywhere. But don't quote me on that. San Jose still bad, but I like where the rebuild's going. Palatafoli, Celebrini, Will Smith, some infusion of talent. They get Yaro Askarov, who didn't get his wish, wanted to play in the NHL, part of that trade request, and they sent him to the San Jose Barracuda, which maybe isn't permanent because their goalies aren't great. So maybe if one of them sucks, they waive him and finally bring up Askarov, and who they extended as well. The defense is rough. The defense is really rough. Ever Vlasic is another year older. They got Cody Ceci. Kalen Addison's gone. It's not good. But the rebuild's going fine. I really like a lot of their draft picks of the last few years. It's gonna work. It's just gonna take time, and that time is not now. So they are in the mix.
Fair enough. Again, I'll
And
keep
Celebrini's already banged up, so
that's not great.
yeah, but he'll have a good year. Will Smith will have a good year. This is a building block year. They're not very good.
Fair enough. Not a lot of parity when it comes to you and I for this one, except the last two spots in the division for me. Same four playoff teams again: Edmonton, Vancouver, Vegas, and Los Angeles. I like you. I think we're in for a massive revenge season, and I know when we did the football segment, I said it was a Bengals revenge season, and that has not looked great so far. But this one, I do believe in the Oilers. Running that division, wanting to get back to the Stanley Cup final because obviously we saw the clips all come out of how just devastated they were. I think Connor McDavid's in for a massive year. Maybe just spoil some award picks there coming up in a little bit, but I think it's Edmonton's division to lose. Vancouver 2, Vegas 3, and Los Angeles 4, as I already said. Seattle, like you said, there are some questions with the Kings, so maybe Seattle sneaks in there as that fourth and final playoff team, but I have them just on the outskirts looking in at 5. Calgary at 6. I have San Jose at 7. Again, I think the youth of that team will take some steps forward this year. And then Anaheim at 8. I'm with you. Like, there's looking over the rosters, there's nothing that jumps off the page about the Ducks really to me. So that's why I kind of have them as a basement dweller in the Pacific Division.
Yeah, like that could happen. Like the Ducks could be at the bottom. Like they have so many young players like Carlson, Zegras, McTavish, Zellweger, Mintyukov. Tristan Luneau will play a little bit this year.
Massive work in progress, it sounds like.
Massive work in progress. Like these guys will get better. I think Pavel Mintyukov could be a number 1 for them someday, but it's just not there yet. It's really not. They just took on cap dumps. I kind of wonder for the West. Maybe we see 5 teams in one division and 3 in the other. Like maybe LA gets bumped out. Maybe Utah has more points than them, and Utah sneaks in. We see 5 in the Central. I don't know. It's possible. But maybe I'm too down on LA. Like they'll be in the mix. I just I have questions. I have questions as I've discussed. So
before we jump into awards, I wanted to ask you for the people if there is one sleeper team that you think could make a run that no one is expecting, like one of these teams that you don't have in the playoffs. Who's like your big surprise team potentially this year?
Philly.
Okay.
Philly. If the goaltending works, I think Philly could win a playoff round.
Interesting. All right.
I'll say that as the make a run. Like they won't make a run, but like maybe they're just
when I ask that question,
team.
I don't mean like
surprise
Stanley Cup winner. Like
they play a great team and they take them to like 6 or 7. Maybe they win, but
okay.
I don't know. Torts kind of works there, man. I don't know. I'm kind of building off that for them. They take another step, and I'm high on Matvei Michkov, as we know. He's really a transcendent talent for that team. So we will switch our focus to some more predictions in the playoffs and for awards. Man, Bruins fans aren't gonna like this. You're gonna like this. I have the Bruins going to the Stanley Cup this year.
Spoiled what happens after that.
Yeah, so They'll play Toronto first round, beat them. Maybe this is the year they lose, like I said, with like Berube and some better defense. I don't know. Maybe it happens. I have them beating the Rangers in 7 in the Eastern Conference Finals. That would be a great series. I have Edmonton over Nashville in the West. I think Nashville, like, this gets them over the hump. And they make a run. I just don't know if they can beat Edmonton. I don't know if anyone can beat Edmonton, which leads me into my Stanley Cup Finals prediction, which is Edmonton over Boston at 6.
No, nobody can beat the Oilers.
No, but
Definitive answer.
nobody's beating the Oilers. Like, maybe Florida does it again if Florida gets there. Maybe.
I hate that.
Which I really wanted. I was back and forth between Bruins and Panthers for the Cup out of the East to represent the East.
Okay.
The Bruins can do it. I have a feeling that I can't shake, and maybe it's a little biased. They get there and they play the Panthers and they right wrongs. They don't fuck it up. Swayman is Swayman. They learn from last year. They learn from the season opener.
I was just gonna say learn from last night, if anything.
Fucking hell. And hey, 2 long playoff runs. Long playoff runs. That's a lot of tread on the tires.
That's a good point.
If there's a year to beat the Panthers, which, they could have done 2 years ago when they were the best team in the league and had a 3-1 lead, they almost blew it to Toronto last year too. This past year. The Bruins find it and get it done. I couldn't reasonably, in that situation, in my head, put the Panthers over the Bruins again. Am I going to be surprised if that series happens and the Panthers win? Not really.
I expect
Not really. But I have the Bruins season going great and then ending in just devastation.
Typical Bruins season, then, is what you're telling me.
I hate it so much. Like, so much. This team, I think, is getting to the conference finals. I'll say that. I feel confident. No one besides maybe Florida is beating Edmonton if Edmonton's in the Cup final. Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl and crew are not losing in the Cup final again, back-to-back years. And hey, everybody's picking Edmonton, and that, when everybody's on a consensus, usually it doesn't go well.
A little scary, yeah.
These consensuses in the past don't have angry Connor McDavid's, Leon Draisaitl's, Zach Hyman's, and Evan Bouchard's. That's a scary bunch. You add Jeff Skinner, who I think could be terrifyingly good on the wing, who they'll need. I don't know if anybody's beating Edmonton. I'm going to go with the chalk. A lot of people here. I've also just felt this way since the end of last season. Like, I haven't been able to shake Edmonton winning. They're finally getting it. McDavid has to get one. And it happens this year. And hey, like, if it happens, I'd rather it just not be against the Bruins, like, just for the heartbreak thing. But, like, I don't know. If in a Bruins-Rangers conference final, I like the Bruins.
Yeah, interesting.
Just a little bit more than the Rangers. It'd be a great bloodbath series.
Would be an excellent series.
But I don't know.
Throwback to Boston, New York. We talked about that last year. Haven't really had a Boston, New York playoff anything in God knows how long. 2018 with the Red Sox and the Yankees, obviously. Like,
yeah,
it's been a while.
It feels weird not putting Dallas in the Western Conference Finals, but I'm going with how I feel, guys.
A little surprised by that. Not gonna lie.
A little surprised. Yeah, that's totally fair to be surprised. But your conference finals and cup final.
Yeah, for me, I will start in the Eastern Conference. Obviously, I like the Rangers. I like them over the Panthers in 6. I think, again, it is an interesting point you bring up that, the Panthers have had 2 long postseason runs. Didn't really think of it in that sense. I just think the Rangers are all around the better team. And Florida, I don't want to say Florida's luck, because obviously, as much as a scumbag team as they are, I do really like how they play hockey, especially in the playoffs. They play tough. They have the skill. And that's what I was, you took the words right out of my mouth. It's an annoying team to watch, because you love to hate them, but you'd also love your team to play exactly like they play. Maybe with a little bit less of the chippiness and the dirtiness, as we've talked about with them in the past. But that's nor here nor there. I like the Rangers in 6 in that series, and I'm with you. I did have the Stars in the Western Conference Finals. I think this series could be an absolute bloodbath. but I do think the Oilers take that in 7. Because I'm like you, I don't think anybody stops the Oilers this year. I have them over the Rangers in the Cup Finals in 7 games. Again, another bloodbath, great series. I just think McDavid's in for, again, to keep going to different sports here, a Shohei Ohtani type season. Like, he is going to put up numbers this year.
What if he puts up like 160? Like,
I wouldn't put it past him. I mean, you said hit the nail on the head. That team is pissed off. All the videos that have come out, just obviously the Stanley Cup Finals loss is devastating for whichever team loses it. But watching some of those videos, like, to me, obviously not close as a hockey fan as you are, like, it just, that feels different to me. Like, that loss for those type of players and that type of team. A team obviously that we've talked about and everyone has talked about, being you got to get there, you got to get one for McDavid. He's got to win it eventually because that team's just too good to lose. Like that has storybook written all over it. If they get back there, to spoil a prediction for an award, like, he rightfully wins the Conn Smythe Trophy, like,
which I have as well.
Yep.
We'll just get that one out of the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, who's gonna win over Connor McDavid besides like Draisaitl? Unless Zach Hyman scores like 10 goals in the Cup final.
I'd have to think too. Like, he feels like, and I think I said this at the time when they gave it to him. Like, he has to feel like that was like a kind of a joke. Like, I didn't. I earned this, but like, I didn't really earn it. Like,
he said he wouldn't have gone out there for $1 million.
Yeah, I can't say I blame him like that. I said it at the time. That's a really tough spot for him to be and have to skate out there and take that award as a loser in that spot. So that he rightfully gets it this year with them winning.
Anyone who would go out and get that award after they lost the Cup Finals is a coward.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you there at all. Like, that's
just,
there really shouldn't be anything to celebrate after you lose the Stanley Cup for in just any sport.
I wouldn't even want the trophy. I wouldn't even want to touch it.
We said that at the time too. Like, there's no way he even took that thing home. Like, I would have taken that and just thrown it in the garbage as soon as before I left the arena. Like, put that in the basement somewhere in like a dimly lit room. Never look at it again.
No, yeah, that just wouldn't. Yeah, especially McDavid. He's a psycho.
Absolutely.
Matt asked how would you say the Bruins match up against the Rangers? I think they're both, Rangers maybe depth overall a little better than the Bruins. Like, they still have, guys like Cooley and Kako stinks, but like Will Cooley, third liner, but like, has another level to prove. Philip Hedl has like up hills and valleys, like with injury stuff too, that has derailed things a little bit for him. In person, I think he might have had some personal stuff going on that was messing with his head a little bit last year. Don't quote me on that, but I think so. Like, they, new look fourth line. So do the Bruins have a little bit of a different look in the bottom 6 too. But I think they both have tough defense. Like, Bruins are bigger. Like, the Bruins have maybe the biggest defensive unit in the league now, besides like Vegas maybe. Overall, but like, Trouba's a psycho. Love him or hate him, like, he does play physical. He just pushes the boundaries a lot. Ryan Lindgren will block anything. Trouba will block anything. Braden Schneider is becoming one of those guys. He's big too. They got like a guy like Zach Jones, undersized, like a little puck mover. Adam Fox, Bruins have McAvoy, and they have Adam Fox. Adam Fox is, I think better than McAvoy, but McAvoy's, very good at the top of his game. And they have 2 great goaltenders, both of them. So I think there's a lot of similarities,
even, yeah.
Which is why I think the series would be such a dogfight. And that's about it. I think we're kind of in a similar camp there.
Absolutely.
Indeed. Let's go to some awards. We talked about the Conn Smythe. If Edmonton wins, it's just going to be McDavid. That's just a given. So yeah, I have McDavid going back-to-back for Conn Smythe. I have Nathan MacKinnon going back-to-back for the Hart Trophy because, he's got a little more on his shoulders with Nona Chushkin. Like, depth needs a little, it might need a little bit of work with some rookies being relied on. And he's just like ridiculous. So he's just good enough to win it any year. And, you want to say McDavid, you want to say maybe Draisaitl sneaks in there. Kucherov was in the mix last year. It's just been like really hard for Draisaitl to win a Heart though with McDavid there.
Yeah, you kind of overlooked with your with the team.
I don't think he doesn't seem like a guy that would really care about that though.
God no.
He was talking about like in that Amazon show, like everybody thinks he's grumpy. He's like, yeah, well, I kind of am, but like I'm not that bad.
Yeah.
Essentially, like, but yeah, I mean, it's McKinnon this year. That's where my gut went. Winning back-to-back Hearts would be very impressive, as would be winning back-to-back Rocket Richards, but there's just no one I think can score more goals in a season than Austin Matthews right now. And Connor McDavid sure could, but like Connor McDavid is also also a huge trigger man and playmaker. So,
True.
he's a guy that can score 50. Maybe he scores 60, but like I'm penciling in Austin Matthews for 65, 70 goals. I think he had 69 last year. So, nice.
Yeah.
It's like Austin Matthews could win like 8 straight Rocket Richards, honestly, but like Connor
Wouldn't be
Bedard
surprising,
might eventually have something to say about that. You got McDavid, McKinnon can score too. Don't forget about that. And Draisaitl, like for fuck's sakes. There's a lot of big time goal scorers. Maybe David Pastrnak. McKinnon is plus 650, second highest odds. Austin Matthews is rightfully the favorite at plus 135. Art Ross, though, this is Connor McDavid this year. He's a minus 145 favorite. He's just gonna go sicko ridiculous mode this year. And he didn't win it last year, so he probably would like to win it this year a little bit. Nikita Kucherov won it last year, so McDavid to get another Art Ross for his trophy collection. Back-to-back Ted Lindsay's for Nathan McKinnon. This one's just like a toss-up. It's McKinnon or McDavid. I'm going McKinnon. Another guy who could just dominate a certain award for years and years is Alexander Barkov. Easily the best free-zone center in the league.
It's the new Bergeron.
Just an absolute freak of nature. He's a bigger Bergeron. He's got some Pavel Datsyuk in his game too, who is an amazing free-zone player with those hands, that creativity. He is an absolute just marvel of a hockey player. He's plus 175 to win Selke. He's the favorite. Cale Makar didn't win it last year. He's just gonna this year. Like it's Cale Makar. We know the drill with him. Quinn Hughes, probably wants to go back to back, but I think Cale Makar has an explosion season, like we know he's capable of, and wins another Norris. Matvei Michkov, Makar is plus 200 and is the favorite. Michkov plus 275 favorite. I like some other guys in there. I like a Stankoven. I like who's the other name? Maybe Cutter Gauthier. I don't know. I couldn't get close on Gauthier. It was Michkov or Stankoven for me. Yeah, Michkov, we'll see how he does towards his system, which isn't like a Toronto for a guy who's like an offensive stud like him, or an Edmonton, but like he's still gonna tear it up. He's gonna have some flair. He's gonna battle in the corners. It's Matvei Michkov's award to lose for me. He's the favorite plus 275, and it's not Connor Hellebuyck's year. I wanted to consider Jeremy Swayman. I did briefly, but playing in a contract year. I'm going with the favorite. I'm going with Igor Shesterkin at plus 500. He's going to win one this year. I think this is close to a lock, to be honest. And people might think that's crazy. I'd love Igor to win the Vezina this year. Playing for a contract year. Clearly wants to make more than $11 fucking million. Yeah. Think about this too. $11 million. The highest is Carey Price, who hasn't played in years, and he signed that $10.5 million a long time ago. So for Igor Shesterkin to reject $11 million is wild, absolutely fucking wild. And he's never won a cup. Russians got a little, the Russian factor. Some of them, when they get locked in, they're impossible to beat. An absolutely phenomenal goalie, playing for a lot, winning a cup, winning a Vezina, whatever he does. It's his award this year. It's all Igor for me. And I'm going off the board for a guy that I think should have got more consideration for Coach of the Year last year, and Spencer Carberry in Washington. He is tied for the 7th favorite at plus 1,700 with John Hines. I think he should have won it last year. Rick Tocchet, deserving. The fact that he wasn't in the top 3 was crazy to me. That Washington team was willed there largely by him as a first-year head coach. I think it was Spencer Carberry all year for me. I was beating the drum for it. Hey, if you're looking for a long shot from me this year, bet on Spencer Carberry plus 1,700. Throw $5 on it. Forget about it.
Wouldn't be the worst thing.
Yeah. I mean, hey, I love Spencer Carberry to win Coach of the Year this year.
Especially if they make the playoffs, you're gonna think that helps his odds quite a bit.
Yeah, and they scraped in last year as a worst team. I want to see Spencer Carberry get his flowers this year. So I think he did an amazing job with that team.
All right, fair enough. For my awards, again, I think there's just a revenge season in the making for Connor McDavid. He's going to take a lot of these. I have him winning the Hart and the Art Ross as well. The Rocket Richard, like you, I have Austin Matthews taking that. It's again his award to lose. He's arguably the best goal scorer in the National Hockey League, in my opinion. Did consider Pastrnak for a split second for this, but I think in the end it's going to be Matthews that overtakes it. I agree with you on the Selke. Like I said, he's the current day Bergeron. And like you said, and just in a bigger mold. And Alexander Barkov, you saw how good he was last night in the game against the Bruins. The Norris, I'm going with Roman Josi. I think the Predators are primed for a very big season. Maybe maybe a sneaky pick here with obviously some of the bigger names like Makar. Maybe Yoshi's a guy that gets a little bit forgotten. But I think, like I said, that national team is going to be very good this year. They've retooled, they revamped, and he's right at the center of it. So that'll be.
When they had the post U2 tour cancellation resurgence where they won they got points in 17 straight games. Roman Josi was ridiculous.
Excellent. Yeah, he was insane.
Yep. He can play to the level of the best defenseman in the league.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think he will do that this year and win the Norris. And
love it. I love that pick.
All right. What do you think of this one? Because you've mentioned his name a couple of times. I went with Stankoven from Dallas.
I love it.
I like him.
Michkov.
Yeah, I went back and forth on that, but I kind of lean Stankoven because he has obviously the NHL experience, 24 games last year. What's the number to hit for? Because I know obviously there's baseball, you have to hit a certain amount of at bats. So you know what the criteria is for hockey? Because I was a little surprised. 24 games, you're still considered a rookie the next year. But 14 points in 24 games last year, that's pretty good. Obviously has the NHL experience over some of these other guys that are obviously coming into the league. So that's why I give him the edge for the rookie of the year. Vezina, I'm with you. It's Shesterkin's to lose, especially if the Rangers are able to go all the way to the Cup final. And like you said, he's playing for something, wanting a massive payday, which you and I both think he will get and rightfully deserve. Ted Lindsay for me is McDavid. Again, I feel like a lot of these awards are his to lose at this point with what he's about to do this year. And then for the Jack Adams, I went sticking with Nashville. Andrew Brunette, again, I think the Predators are primed for a pretty big season, and if they can get to the playoffs, make some noise there. I know playoffs probably don't factor into the awards for the regular season, but I think Brunette's got a pretty good shot of winning for Nashville.
Yeah, I mean, he's gonna be in that mix again. Yeah, Stankoven, could play a pretty big role for Dallas this year.
That Dallas team's good all around too, so he's gonna have his chances. Nothing against Michkov or anything, but like that. But a lot of these rookies, I feel like are stepping into obviously bad team. Not to say Philly's a bad team, but you know what I mean. A lot of the rookies are on bad teams. Stankoven steps into a great situation, and Dallas is going to be a good team. So I think the points are definitely going to be there for him to get.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the reason why we're not really giving a ton of Macklin Celebrini love because he's hurt right now. So we'll see how long he's hurt for. It might not be long. But he's very good. I don't think he's putting up Bedard level points from last year in his first year.
Probably not.
And he's on San Jose. It's gonna be really hard. Michkov will play first or second line. Stankoven second or third. And Stankoven's very good, very proven AHL scorer too. Came up to the NHL, contributed in the playoffs. It's just gonna be really hard kind of for Celebrini unless he's just their great one center right away and tears it up to win. I like Michkov and Stankoven a lot. So that's it for awards predictions. I don't really have any I wanted to think of some bold predictions, but
I couldn't come up with any. Some. Yeah.
It's bold predictions are fun, but if nothing comes to my mind, ooh, that'd be fun to say. I'm not gonna be
why force it? Yeah.
Whatever. So sorry if you're disappointed about that. But those are our season predictions. Excited for the season. Hopefully, the Bruins will bounce back tomorrow in the home opener against Montreal. They did not look good last night. It was bad. The game did happen. There was concerns with Hurricane Milton that it might not. They lost 6-4. Game time decision. Who knows how much they really considered Swayman, but they did to some level consider Swayman. Could have won that game with Swayman for sure. They lose 6-4. Korpisalo lets in 6 goals on 35 shots. Penalty kill was good. Took too many penalties, but they were 6 for 6.
Yeah.
Struggled to get shots early, which is a familiar story against Florida. First goal, you can't put that one on Korpisalo. Just a really shitty bounce off his shoulder. Couldn't track it. Happened really quickly. Unfortunate start. The second goal I had a problem with because Trent Frederick just didn't know that Lewis Ryan was behind him and went after Lundell, and Lewis Ryan was just, hey, I got it. Don't worry about me. I think Zadorov could have did a little bit more on like the puck pursuit of the passing player, who I'm drawing a blank on at the top of my head. It was just a little weak overall. Like I think Frederick, should have noticed that Louis Rhino was behind him. Zadorov could have been a little better, and of course the puck gets through. That's tough. And another one gets past Corpusalo. But yeah, I don't think that one was really on him. I think they needed to be better in front of him. I'm a little bummed about the Kostelic and Greer fight because like Greer kind of caught him off balance when he grabbed him. And I think if they were both upright, they would have just beaten the bag out of each other. Decent fight. I liked how Kostelic played, so that's a good start. He's just big and he hits people. Like I think he plays a pretty safe game too. We've seen in the past. In Ottawa, he can win some faceoffs. Hopefully, he does that this year. Hit some people and fights when he needs to. I was okay with him last night. Little fight there. The Bruins were very clearly upset about last year. You had Zadorov fucking around. You had Frederick fucking around. Apparently, Tkachuk said he wanted to fight and then didn't. Suckered Frederick into that.
Sounds about
Frederick
right.
said that was like disrespectful, like lost a little respect for him for that, for like disrespecting the game, whatever. Obviously, anyone who knows them, both St. Louis boys that grew up, they knew each other. So like, just fucking with an old friend, I guess Tkachuk was.
Yeah.
He got knocked over by a ref. That was the funny Tkachuk low light. But yeah, like they're clearly vengeful about last year, which was annoying. Like I get it a little bit, but I think I was like, all right, guys, like let's fucking chill out.
I was gonna ask you that.
It sucks. Like Pasternak was clearly upset with Tkachuk too, still, which I hated. Like, dude,
get over it.
Shut up, Pasta. Like, it was you did what you had to do last year.
You willingly did it, yeah.
Like, that's not you. Just move on. Just worry about scoring goals. He was pretty quiet until the goal last night. I think only had 2 shots in the first 2 periods. But not super concerned about David Pasternak. Don't really do that type of thing because it's David Pasternak. Yeah, they were just too caught up in last year, and I hated it. And I hope
I was going to ask you that because that was my biggest takeaway too. Is we saw it last year. What happened when you tried to play like Florida, and I know this year a lot was put on. Like, okay, they went into the offseason trying to get bigger. They needed to do that. They needed to get tougher, and that's all good and fine. But how many times did we talk about it last year? Like, you can't in the playoffs. You can't stoop to Florida's level. Like, that's what they want you to do. They want you to get physical because that's how they play their game. And that's how they win a lot of their games. And then you see that happen again last night. Like you said, they get caught up in what happened last year. They take a couple of dumb penalties. Now, obviously, it didn't come back to burn them, thankfully. But that was my big thing. And like I said, I'm glad we're kind of in agreement on that. That like you should have known better going into this. Like, how Florida wants to play. You know that they're fully in there, and they know that they're in your head. So they're gonna play like this. You need to kind of back. You can pick your spots here and there, but most of the night, them trying to start stuff was just kind of. It wasn't kind of. It was just overall frustrating to watch.
Yeah, like I don't know. Luckily, unfortunately, you have to play them again soon. But fortunately, you have a way to get back at Florida in a good way, in the right way. You know what that is? You signed a 6'6" Russian defenseman. Have him be ready to lay Sam Bennett or Matthew Tkachuk the fuck out at center ice. Hammer Sam Bennett every time he touches the puck and every time he's around the net, because he bundled Korpisalo when he easily could have stopped last night and could have fucking concussed or hurt Korpisalo, your new goalie who's getting shelled due to partial goaltending incompetence, partial fucking shit terrible surroundings.
Defense, yeah.
Hammer them. They're 2 biggest assholes. Hammer them. Don't try to sucker them into fights because it's not going to work, especially with Bennett. Bennett won't fight anyone in this team. Yeah. Fucking hammer him. Like, constantly. You want to make them uncomfortable? They know they can fuck with you. Make them uncomfortable. Don't worry about the shit talk. Just hammer them. That's how it works. And maybe it doesn't work that well, but it keeps their head on a swivel a little bit. And that, if you do that consistently enough, that will be in their minds if you see them in the playoffs.
Now, do you have faith the Bruins will actually do that?
Because I don't. Really.
All right, good.
Given what happened last night, dude, I don't care if they're doing nothing after the whistle. Just go after them.
Yeah.
If they touch the puck, someone needs to hit them every fucking time. It's that simple. And sure, that probably won't fully neutralize them, knowing what we know about these players.
No, that won't.
But
They'll
fuck,
laugh at
just
something
make
like
them
that.
uncomfortable. Don't do this fucking petty bullshit about last year. You have a 6'6" defenseman who can fuck them up. You have a huge defense, and you have a couple extra forwards this year that can hit people pretty well too. Just fucking hammer them.
Do it, but do it smart.
Do it smart. Yes. For fuck's sakes.
Because you saw
I
that a
wanted to
couple
see more
times
of
too
that.
last night, where like the Bruins would or the Panthers. Who was it that cross-checked? I can't remember. They were talking about it on the broadcast, and I can't remember. It was a blatant cross-check right in front of the Bruins net that didn't get called because it was somebody from Florida that did it, and then a couple plays later, the Bruins got a dumb penalty or something ticky-tack. So you're already seeing that again, that like the Panthers benefit more. And again, I'm not going to bring the refs into this or anything because that wasn't the story from the game, but it's just that's always in the back of your mind when these two teams play each other, is it does seem to feel like the officiating kind of leans one-sided, but
it's wonky.
Yeah, it's strange.
No, did that well, the whole physicality thing well last year too. Remember like game 2 or 3 when Brad Marchand just laid Matthew Tkachuk the fuck out on like the first shift? Sure, they lost that game, I'm pretty sure. But like, dude,
do something to set the
that
tone.
can mean something, especially at home.
Yep.
Especially at home.
Yeah, you see how it worked for. I mean, the Florida got the crowd behind him, and that was the end of it. Like
you'll have Swayman. Like Swayman does his shit. Like he fucks with Tkachuk, and it kind of worked.
Yeah.
Like if you watch the Amazon documentary too, Tkachuk's like, dude, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck you doing? Fuck you. Like to Swayman. And Swayman loves it. He's like, I'm gonna do that. To
quite a psycho.
Players are my girl. I'm gonna do that. So just fucking hammer them. Like you got bigger, you got stronger. Just fucking hammer those guys. Hammer them. And not just them, but mainly them. Sam Bennett has gone away with a lot of shit against you. And he's tough, but he doesn't want to fight. So just fuck him up. Seriously, like, God, I wish it were that simple, and hopefully it'll become more simple, and they'll figure it out. Come the 14th. Pavel Zacha scored a sweet goal. That didn't really give me any confidence they were going to win the game. I didn't have any confidence to begin with because they're playing Florida, who they suck against, on banner night. They just weren't winning that game. But
you kind of knew how that was going to go, yeah.
Lindholm gets his first point. Maybe that's a nice little boost of confidence. I was talking to Durango about this last night. Like, I'm just gonna have to start calling them Hampus and Elias because there's 2 fucking Lindholms on this team now.
Those 2 confusing.
Elias Lindholm, for anybody who didn't know, in that one. A difference maker could have been that Brazeau wraparound, and Evan Rodriguez annoyingly had other plans. I hate him, not just because he's from BU. Like he's becoming a big clutch player for them now, and he's good defensively, and he's got a good shot. I hate him. I hated the Reinhardt shorthanded goal so much. Really soft on the breakout. Really soft on the breakout. And a terrible goal for Korpisalo to let up. Like that can't just deflect off you and go in. He needs to save that. Needs to stop the bleeding a little bit. That's a save that like a Jeremy Swayman makes. To me, like Korpisalo, and this is partially because I've watched very composed Bruins goaltenders for a lot of my life. Korpisalo, to me, outside of like a few stretches of his career, I watch him and I'm like, this is a goalie that isn't as strong-willed as other goalies the Bruins have had. I don't feel confident when he takes even like the most slightly scary shot. I never really have.
You hold your breath on every puck that gets thrown his way.
Yeah, he doesn't have the same like body language and composure to me, which is why I've been down on the addition and been kind of down on the player for a little bit. Still remains maybe the most puzzling free agent signing ever to me when they signed him for 5 years in Ottawa, and the Bruins bailed him out. Thanks, Don.
Yep.
I hated it. I thought that was bad all around. I thought it was bad by McAvoy. You're on the power play. That can't happen. And Korpisalo needs to save that one. I think the Bennett goal too. Peak needs to toss him in that situation, but like Korpisalo needs to save that. I don't think that was a super tough save to make, but you could have used a little better defense from Peak at the same time. He didn't have a great game last night. Hopefully that isn't a sign of things to come. I did like what I saw overall last year, but I mean the team in general didn't really have a great game. So like a 3-on-1 developing. I get that here on the Gadjevich goal. Mason Lohrei was like, it's like he stepped on a banana. Like seriously, he spiraled so easily. Like Boquist is a fast player. We know that. We watched him last year. Like kind of takes his time trying to find a passing lane or a potential shooting lane, and Lohrei slips on a banana. Like that was kind of unfortunate to see. And I'm not gonna like hate on Lohrei for that. It's like that sucked though. Like that sucked, and it obviously led to a goal. I'm sure he wasn't happy about it either, but that was unfortunate. He finds Gadjevich back door. That's another one. Like, just sloppy. Like sloppy. You're not helping your goalie. God, who's already having a rough night. McAvoy picks up Beecher's rebound. I kind of held this one close to the chest, but I've kind of been okay with the idea of giving Beecher some third line run, and this kind of reinforces that. He had some nice shifts. He wasn't a game breaker last night, but he had a few shifts that I
He
liked.
was solid last night. Yeah, had some moments.
He's fast. We know he's fast for a big guy. Especially with how Max Jones played. I would like to see Johnny Beecher on the third line over Max Jones. Max Jones played like a guy that was injured and not fully up to speed because of being injured during training camp. And he slashed an official. He slashed an official unintentionally. That was unfortunate, but still slashed an official. Not a great look. Yep. If that was intentional, he would be getting a call from Department of Player Safety. Yeah, I'm ready for Max Jones to be the fourth liner that he has been for his career. I do not want to see him on the third line already. I'm not ready to call the signing a shitty one because even if he sucks, he's still only making $1 million. That rhymed. I would like to see Max Jones on the fourth line, please, or as a 13th skater soon. Once Matt Dupontre's back, because Trent Frederick can bounce the wing in that event. And I hope Potter's back soon because I want to see how he looks, and maybe Patra gets a little Providence time to get his legs back under because he hasn't skated much in the past many months. So he might need a little AHL conditioning. Could happen. Not counting on it, but it could happen. They clearly like him a lot. They're keeping him around, didn't just send him down. So another one I didn't love from Corpusalo, the Rodriguez goal. I thought that's a stoppable puck. But another one different than the peak one. No one gets a stick in there to try and stop it. Like everybody's just kind of like, okay, maybe my stick will get in the way a little bit. Didn't really like that. And didn't really like Bennett just decking Corpusalo. Like, sure, he didn't have a lot of room. Carlo pushed him a little bit, but like, I think that's a guy's like, oh, if I run into the goalie, it's all right. Like I do shit like this.
Wouldn't surprise me, yeah.
Another reason to hammer him, even if he didn't do that, hammer him in the home game you got coming up against Florida. He could have stopped. That is something no one can convince me otherwise on. He could have stopped. He was cool with the idea, like, oh no, I got pushed. I'll just fucking fly into the goalie and potentially concuss him. Hate him so much. Just the worst. I hope when he's a free agent, he signs with like Chicago and never wins anything again. But he'll end up on Toronto. So he's always wanted to play there, apparently. So he'll end up on Toronto if he leaves Florida. Nice feed by Brazo to Frederick. I like Brazo. I think he's another guy that had some good shifts. Still would like him to be a little faster, but he's a large individual. If he can score goals and be large and use that reach, fine with me. Pasta gets on the board for the parlay too. Thank you. Maybe the only time he'll be at half a point for his betting point total. He's minus 238, but I parlayed that with the Utah game over, which hit at the last minute, which was great. I missed the end, but that's okay. Saw the score this morning. Yeah, he banks his first the year off Kulikov. So that's that. Not good, but you have a get right opportunity coming up with Montreal and hopefully Jeremy Swayman in that.
Yeah,
I would like to see Swayman, get the home opener, even though he might not be fully up to speed. I think he'll be fine. And he's a bit of a psycho, so I bet he'll want it.
I wanted to ask you, because they talked about it on the broadcast, any surprise that they didn't go to him last night at all? They did bring up an interesting point. I was in the same boat, don't play him, but I did find it interesting the broadcast kind of tried to spin it like a not an advanced preseason, but like a preseason game for him, or like some preseason work. Like obviously didn't have a preseason with the Bruins, obviously not being there, so that was the kind of route they took. Give him a preseason-esque kind of tune-up, which was an interesting way to look at it. But I'm with you. Like I wanted him nowhere near that game. Like you let Corpusalo be the sacrificial lamb in that game. and obviously wasn't great. Like I said, I agree with you. The defense in front of him was not good. That was the thing that was aggravating too. Kind of my other takeaway from this is it was a lot of what you saw last year against Florida. Like I didn't think they were ready to go. I know it's a tough barn to go into. You know, you're facing a team that's hoisting its Stanley Cup banner and getting rings, so they're obviously going to be juiced up. But defense didn't look great to start the run. The whole team, I feel like, was on its heels right out of the gate. Obviously, we saw the same problems we saw in the playoffs last year. I think the shots at one point were like 12-1 or something ridiculous like that. But
Yeah.
I feel like at that point, that's at this point rather, you kind of expect that with the Bruins and the Panthers. Like it's just kind of how these games have gone.
The
So
Bruins
that was
also did it to the Panthers once or twice too in the playoffs,
true.
whereas the
Yep.
other way around. So
Mhm.
that's just kind of a thing with
Yeah,
these teams,
it is a
unfortunately.
weird kind of trend. That's a good point. But yeah, like to me, like it just, and I'm not gonna come on here and be like, oh, we have problems with Montgomery right away. But like again, it was a little alarming, lowercase, alarming that I just feel like they weren't ready to go in this game, and that obviously
Yeah.
showed. And then we obviously talked about it earlier. Just the too much focus on getting too involved with the chippiness. And you can do that in its own sense, but if you're still holding on to grudges from last year, like I think that time has come and passed.
Yeah. It has. It's just so tired. It was easy to get tired about it, the way they approached it last
Mm-hmm.
night. So I thought the Marshawn Coyle Geeky line was okay. I think they have another level. I think Geeky at times was probably the best player in that line. Marshawn's excited to play with him this year. 17 goals last year for Geeky. Maybe he can touch 20. Coyle, we'll see, different role. Like he thrived in a bigger role, but maybe he thrives even better in a lesser role. I don't know. As weird as that sounds, it might be a thing. Brad Marchand's playing for his next contract and coming off surgery, so we'll see how he holds up this year. Um, if they need a bottom six infusion at some point, maybe we see Fabian Lysell if he starts hot in the NHL. I don't know. That's just something I'm gonna wonder about early season. If they feel like they need to change, if they're like, okay, like we'll give you your shot
Give him a
now.
chance, yeah.
Um, but like, I don't know. It's the first game and it sucked, but like you can get Pacho back. You can settle in a little bit. Hopefully beat Montreal and LA, and you know LA without Drew Doughty, and
It's a big
maybe
loss. Yeah.
that's Corpusalo's get right. Maybe he comes back and plays a little better against LA, and then I definitely absolutely want Jeremy Swayman against Florida.
Yeah, that'd
And
be a
I would
smart way to go.
enjoy it if he was in the Montreal game as well. Um, but like they're going to be a strong defensive team. Um, there is evidence as well that the goaltending kind of bails out the defense at the same time. So I want people to know that. It kind of goes both ways. It's not just all like the defense helping the goaltending. But like they're gonna be fine. Like this was a very, very unfortunate start to the season, but like you don't have your goalie back. You're
Mm-hmm.
not fully healthy. You have a guy that you want to take a leap in Padre who could be an effective third line center for you, maybe. It's gonna take some time. Like the year they went to the cup, they lost like 7-0 to Washington in the first game. It's a long
Right,
time
I
ago now,
remember
but like I
that.
kind of go
Yeah,
back to that.
that was ugly.
Um, a
And that was their
shitty,
banner night too, wasn't it?
yeah, it
Yeah.
was. Wow,
I
good
did.
point.
Don't. Only reason I knew
Good
that is
point.
because I'm not gonna credit like I knew that off the top of my head. I saw a tweet that I think somebody, either Connor Ryan or somebody had it, that it was the first Bruins loss on opening night since the Capitals game, like you just mentioned. And then he
Yeah,
said in that tweet that it was their banner game as well. So not as smart as maybe
yeah,
I came off there for a split
it's
second,
okay.
but
No, you're very
yeah,
smart,
give
Ryan.
credit where
Very
credit's due.
smart.
Thank you.
There's also like we saw Lindholm, McAvoy, Lowry, Carlo, Zadorov peak, and the defense didn't look great. So maybe we see Zadorov with McAvoy a little
Yeah,
bit
change
this
it up a
week.
little bit.
Maybe Lowry gets a shot. Like their defense is good enough where they can mix some things around. Like the Lowry Carlo idea is very appealing if you can get that to work. So is Zadorov McAvoy. So is Lowry and McAvoy. Like you have options, and you'll find the right guy to play with Peak, and you got Wotherspoon to rotate in and out.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully he can be a nice little very cheap depth defenseman for you. So yeah, I mean, I think the top six is pretty locked in for a bit, but you got to figure out the bottom six. The defense, as good as they are, they need to find the right combos. Swayman needs to be Swayman, and Monty has to have them locked in, and they're gonna be against Montreal. Like this is if you don't use this as a get right game, maybe it's time for a little bit of concern. Um, But you also get LA really early, which is kind of weird to me. I feel like they don't really
Yeah, it's
like
usually a
you don't
later
really see a team like LA
mid-season.
that early. But
Hmm.
yeah, we're both fairly high on the Bruins, so they can fix this. It's just a rough start. And yeah, they just have to fix it because they are set up for failure and they failed last night. So
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't
that's it.
want to make excuses for the bad play, but like you could not have picked a worse scenario to start the season off against Florida, team you can't beat to begin with, raising their banners so they're juiced. Your goalie obviously isn't ready to go because of all the contract stuff, and like you mentioned, you're banged up in a couple of spots. So it was a situation where if you pick the Bruins to win this game, and from a betting standpoint, all the power to you. But like this game, just right from the get go, screamed Florida, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, it's there's going to be some adjustments. It's you're different in terms of your secondary scoring mix, and you're without two awesome goalies. You just
Yep,
got one, so there's some adjustment. Like, say what you want about Jake DeBrusk, like that's a guy that's been there for a while, no longer there. Heinen comes back and is very effective. JVR for the most part was pretty effective.
solid. Yep.
Uh, Boquist was a great speed fourth liner option that could score a highlight every once in a while. Like there's just some adjustment. They lost some speed, they added some heft, and hopefully that works. But maybe a guy like Lysell, if they need some speed, and Patra can eventually provide that. Patra's got the better fast track, it looks like, than that. One question I want to ask you. You have to give me a yes or no answer. Does David Pastrnak score 60 this year?
No,
Yeah, I'm
gets
thinking like
close.
50. I'm thinking like 55, 57.
Yep, I was gonna say
47
54.
last year. He's got more. I do think we talked about this a lot last year. We wanted more like, hey, let's give David Pastrnak more one-timers. There's some games where like they're passing around a lot, and those one-timers were getting neutralized. They weren't focusing on them. Like, you have a bumper guy in your power play now in the mold of Bergeron, not Bergeron, and Lindholm. You have a disruptor in Lindholm who can make plays similar to Bergeron, like that type of style. Again, not Bergeron level, but um, and he's the new Bergeron. Like, Coyle had to take on that role last year. Coyle take a little bit of a back seat, but I think he rounded his game out more really well last year and scored 25 goals. You have him as your second line center now, maybe taking on some easier matchups. Like, this mix can work and it will work. I'm excited to see how Zaka Lindholm pasta looks. Obviously the Zaka goal was really pretty sick last night, so maybe a glimpse of what's to come. And there's potential for this power play to be much better than last year because there were some rough stretches last year for the power play. So there's some things to figure out, but we're optimistic about this team. Um, I wonder if Justin Brazeau can be a double-digit goal scorer in his first full season. Like, scored I think 5 last year in a low sample size. Like, I wonder if Justin Brazeau can be a good secondary scoring like spark plug. I wonder if Johnny Beecher can add a little more offense. Like, I'm not expecting
You
him
would
to
hope.
explode, but like take some more chances offensively because
Hmm.
he is a first rounder. He is skilled. He's not going to be this elite forward, but you see there. And what can Matt Poitras do this year? Like, he already got
He is
banged
the
up.
wild card. Yeah.
He's banged up last year. He was, he took the brunt of a wrist line and hit at the end of a game, which was really unnecessary in the preseason. Um, might have messed up like his shoulder or something. I don't know. But like, he surprised us last year by getting on the team and contributing earlier than we expected. Can he surprise us with like 35 points this year? 30 points?
Wouldn't hate that.
Maybe 12, 13 goals? I don't think that's too crazy.
No,
But,
absolutely not.
we'll see, what they want to do when he's healthy, if they want to give him a little AHL conditioning stint for like 5 games. And we'll see, how he can bounce back because we saw some flashes last year. And they've got Lindholm and Coyle, but they need good young centers, and he's the top dog to be that guy. So just some questions. They've got depth scoring they need to fill in a little bit, and we'll see who does it. And we know about the defense and goaltending. So yeah, that's the Bruins this year. We'll see how it goes. We're high on them to both make the playoffs. Obviously, we both think they'll make the playoffs and be contending. So, any final thoughts, Ryan, on the hockey club in Boston?
I got nothing. Can't get too
You
high, can't get
got
too low after one game.
You can't. And they got another one tomorrow. Maybe we'll get too high or low after that one. But they're playing Montreal, so it's a winnable game. Let's shift to football.
You can get too low after 5 weeks, though. That's for sure. We
Mm,
have reached
mm,
maybe not
mm,
rock bottom with
mm.
the Drake May news, but
Yeah,
we were approaching
yeah,
rock bottom with how the week started off. We'll touch on the Pepper stuff, obviously, maybe for a brief
yeah,
moment later on, because I think that kind of leans more into the Texans preview than anything else. It was ugly against Miami. Maybe ugly it's been all season.
yeah.
That's
And
saying
hey, we
something.
were in the right ballpark with that 16 to 13 talk. Maybe they win this game with Drake May. A lot of people found themselves wondering, why didn't Drake May play in this game? Why didn't he start? Why didn't you do it a year or a week sooner against a lesser team?
This was my prediction spot.
It's a 15 to 10 game, the prediction spot, of course.
Yep.
I think we both had the same week. I know
think
you
so,
had
yeah.
that. I think we both had the same week. It was 15 to 10. Maybe they win that game with Drake May. I say they would have.
Can I be honest?
They would have.
They should have won this game with Jacoby Brissett. Like,
Yeah, that
there's
too.
really nothing against what you're saying. I agree with you. They probably do win it with Drake
No,
May,
I'm
but
with you.
they should have won it with Jacoby Brissett. This was like the dumbest we have seen this team. And like, we're going to do studs and duds in a second. Spoiler alert, we don't have the coaching staff on either one of our duds lists, but very easily, we've done it before, could have put the entire coaching staff at the number one spot. Because I don't think Gerard Mayo, another week here where I don't think he had this team ready to go. Some weird play calling and decisions come again. Alex Van Pelt has not been impressive so far this season. Not that we were, expecting a lot from him, but it has not been great. And then the defense
I do think
once
the
again
West
just
Coast
gets shredded.
style offense recently got some people excited though, and
True.
look, they just don't have the guns to really
That's fair.
provide an exciting West Coast style offense. So it's been a tough transition in offensive philosophy. Patriots lose 15 to 10. Not the most exciting football game you'll ever watch. But we have studs and duds and a whole lot more. Ryan, I will defer to you to start.
Yeah, Stud's a little difficult to find in this game, but we powered through it. My number 3, Demario Douglas. Good to see him finally get involved and actually use him as they should in the slot. I'd like to see more of that. 6 catches, 9 targets, 59 yards. The stats aren't going to jump off the page by any means, but he was reliable in this game. Brissett had a couple of tough throws that he was able to make some nice catches on. And again, would like to see him in the slot more because I think that's where obviously he shines the most. There was a play where they tried throwing him a deep ball, where I kind of was like, why you obviously he's fast so he can get behind the defense, but I don't like you throwing a deep jump ball to one of your smaller wide receivers. Like, put him in the slot, let him run, maybe some jet sweeps or some just anything, some sort of creativity with him. Because you saw in this game, when you do that a little bit, Demario Douglas looks like the player he did last year. We expected him to be going into this year.
Yeah, you want your jitterbug receiver to run jitterbug routes.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's kind of go hand in hand there.
You have a quarterback coming in that is better than Jacoby Brissett in pretty much every way besides, every way besides NFL experience.
Yep.
And was very good at throwing across the middle of the field at North Carolina. And will certainly be better at the NFL level than Jacoby Brissett at throwing across the middle of the field right away. I'll say that now. That's good news for Jalen Polk. That's good news for Demario Douglas, and hopefully for Kendrick Bourne, who I'd like to see further get involved. The receivers won't outright say it, like, "Oh my God, thank God we're done with Brissett," but like they're kind of like, "Yeah, like we're excited for Drake May." Like there has to be a much higher level of excitement for this week's game with Drake May coming in, because some of these guys might have been like, "All right, let's start Drake May to begin with."
You saw you've seen the rumblings of that the last couple of weeks. I think you mentioned on the show last week that Douglas that was not throwing a temper tantrum, but
he
caught.
was upset and he apologized about it. Like,
Polk has been seen doing that too. So like you've seen some kind of rumblings of that starting to happen. So
this is where you start to lay the groundwork of chemistry outside of preseason and practice with these young guys. You have a very young offense.
Yep.
Like, now you're embracing it at the nucleus with your quarterback, who needs to, be the leader, be the guy who, runs the show. And, that's good news for Pop Douglas. Like, the slants you're talking about, I'd love to see some jet sweeps with him involved. Get him open in the middle of the field. Like, Drake May showed he is excellent at throwing at the middle of the field. in college. And that was a big thing, not just watching him play, but I'd read a lot about, scouts and people talking about, yeah, that like stands out. Like obviously it's like a bare minimum thing in a way, but like when you're so good at it like Drake was, it stands out to people.
Absolutely.
So that's exciting. That's potentially really good news for guys like Polk and Douglas. Maybe we see them switch it up and Javon Baker comes in for like a Kayshon Boutte at some point. I would like to see Javon Baker at some point, but I forget what Van Pelt said, like something about like
He
lining up in the right spaces, like with
basically said he
routes and
needs to
stuff.
learn how to run routes and
Yeah.
line up,
So
which is not, I don't take that as
yeah,
great.
we might
Yeah.
not see Javon for a while. I
No.
I I said Javon, but I have heard a couple of times people saying Javon, so I'm gonna try and like teach my brain to say Javon instead.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, Demario Douglas very worthy of praise. I would like to see him get 9 targets a game, perhaps now.
Nice. Yeah.
That would be great because he's really good.
Mhm.
And not for nothing, he's a 6th round pick. Don't you want to make a 6th round pick, even though it's Bill pick, look good, just for the
Yeah.
organization's sake,
Yep.
to show that you don't suck at drafting.
Especially at the wide receiver position. Just to add that
Yeah,
little tidbit too. Yep.
yeah, definitely the wide receiver position. Christian Gonzalez, sure, it's Tyreek Hill he's covering, with a lesser quarterback, but you're still shutting down Tyreek Hill. So Christian Gonzalez, again, worthy of praise, again, excellent. Had a pick, looked very good. Just continues to look so comfortable like a vet. 6 tackles, an interception, 2 pass deflections, and held Tyreek Hill to 2 of 8 in coverage. Just like is he like a top 8 corner in the league already? Maybe top 5?
Mm,
Seriously.
top 8, I'll give you for sure. I'll
He's
have to
like
look and
he's
try
got to be
to.
knocking
He's
on top 5.
on the, yeah, absolutely. He's on the fringe of
He's
top
absolutely
5
on the trajectory. Maybe he's
for
not
sure.
close to knocking yet. He is so goddamn good and so composed. Like it's an absolute pleasure to watch for, especially for a team that's really bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there really is never a moment with him where you're looking like, what are you doing? Like, how did you just give up like a? I mean, he had obviously the miscommunication against Metcalf in the Seattle game, but like most of the
Yeah.
time, you're not sitting there going, how did you just give up a 75-yard bomb and just kind of lose yourself in the middle of the field there? Like, he's been great. He was my number 2, so I really don't have anything else to add. Would have liked to have seen him haul in a second pick in that game. That would have helped things along the lines of that tip ball in the end zone. So that's why I have him as my number 2. But he, again, you can't complain about Christian Gonzalez too much. He's been excellent right from the get-go. And again, good to see that really wasn't any sort of, we had questions, would there be a little bit of a slow step to start the year with him coming back from an injury? He's picked up right where he left off last year, and he's been
Yeah.
excellent.
Super impressive. My number 2 stud is a guy that I saw getting involved pretty early on and put up the best looking stats sheet on defense, maybe besides Christian Gonzalez. And that's Daniel Quale. Making plays early, looked fast, looked energetic, looked like one of the guys for a team that didn't look super prepared to play. That was fast, aggressive, making shit happen in the backfield. 4 tackles, 5 assists, 9 tackles total, half a sack, tackle for lost, QB hit. Just looked fast and it was productive early. I like to see that. I thought it was one of his better games.
Yeah, absolutely. Good to see him get on the stat sheet. Because again, you're kind of looking for guys to lean on defense with all these injuries piling up, and Quality's been a guy that's had some good moments over the last couple of years. So good to see him get involved and have a nice game.
Absolutely.
Yep. Consensus number 1 for the both of us. Good to see this guy return to the studs list. And that's Ramondre Stevenson. 12 rushes, 89 yards. Had an excellent 33-yard touchdown run, which looked like vintage Ramondre Stevenson. Running by guys, running over guys. Great run from him there. Was not very good in the passing game, though. 4 catches, 4 targets, and just 3 total yards. Kind of a funny stat line there. But again, I think the biggest storyline was good to see Ramondre after, what was he benched for, 1 series, I think it was. So not a big benching, but seems like it got the message across. Was running hard, was obviously protecting the football in the game. Good to see him, get rid of the fumble problem for at least 1 week. So good to see Stevenson back in the right mindset and playing well.
Didn't fumble. And Antonio Gibson was good too. I think he
Yeah,
had
he
over 8
will.
yards of carry. Only like 6 carries, but like run game looked really good. Another thing, like potentially winning this game would have been nice to win this game when the run game shows up. Both of them are averaging 7+ yards a carry, for fuck's sakes.
Yeah,
really
right.
good. Yeah, Ramondre was great. I thought, the touchdown run was really impressive. found the holes, was patient, not just like trying to run everybody down, but like, finding the holes, patient, and then just, brought that power and speed when he needed to. Got the open field and ran it in. But that was the only touchdown of the day of the Patriots. So it's kind of in a annoying and unfortunate sense. Like I saw that and I was like, okay, like I'm prepared for no more touchdowns probably now.
Yep.
Which sucks, but yeah, I mean 7.4 yards carry, gets in the end zone, 89 yards on 12 carries. You'll never find me complaining about that.
No, absolutely not. But on to the dud side of things, plenty to complain about with this. Real quick, an honorable mention for me because I do not have him on my duds list. You do not either, I don't think. No, you do not. Hunter Henry very easily could have been on this for me. Couple of bad penalties. Obviously had the catch in the middle of the field, but maybe that's more on Brissett for not obviously getting the ball to the sidelines. But Hunter Henry didn't think had a great game there.
Yeah. Oh God,
for me at least. I don't know if you had anything. I tried to pull up the game because I can't remember. Obviously, the game was so long ago. What the penalty was that he had? Oh, it was had a false start right on the last play of the second to last play of the game. Yes. So you're a veteran, got to know better. Like you can't be putting your team in that spot when it's already behind the 8 ball and it's already a struggle to move the ball. To begin with, how anemic this offense is. I don't know if you had anything else to add about Hunter Henry there.
Yeah, the ball in the middle of the field too was so annoying because like you have to be better than that if you're Brissett, and he just got baited into it.
Yeah, absolutely.
That sucked. Like, I kind of put that in the back of my mind a little bit.
Try to forget about it. Yeah,
it was gonna come back. Obviously, we're gonna talk about it, but
yeah,
I was like, damn, fuck. Pretty tough. Definitely belongs in the duds category, even as
absolutely. And I know I only have Henry as a honorable mention because that wasn't the dumbest penalty that was taken of the game, and the dumbest one was my number 3 dud, Christian Ellis, who is primarily a special teams guy. I think the Patriots should keep him on special teams for the foreseeable future. 3 tackles in the game, 26 defensive snaps played, 33% of the defensive snaps, but had the biggest penalty of the game, a defensive pass interference on 3rd and 13 that extended Miami's drive and ended up literally costing the Patriots the game because that was the drive where the Ingold touchdown happened. So not going to pin the entire loss on Christian Ellis because obviously the team as a whole did not play well. But if you're one of those people that want to look and point fingers and blame one person for something, Christian Ellis, you cost the Patriots part of that, or partly cost the Patriots that game.
Yeah, and you know what sucked about that drive too is how involved Ingold was as the fullback.
Right.
And then you're like, once they get close, like you're kind of probably thinking in the back of your mind, at least I was like, Ingold's gonna score a touchdown.
Trickery's coming here.
Or like kill someone on a block for like or a touchdown from like Raheem Mostert. Yeah, that was really bad. Ellis is my number 2 dud. I have nothing to really add. So you said you summed it up pretty well.
Yep.
I liked one edge rusher, a guy that gets the passer, Daniel Qualley. I did not like how Dietrich Wise played.
Not a good game from him. Yep.
Yeah, 1 tackle on 46% of snaps, which was 36. Not good. Leader needs to play better. Needs to get to the quarterback. Like not the spectacular offensive line, not a spectacular quarterback, and Tyler Huntley, and he couldn't do anything, and that sucked. One guy I want to shout out before I forget to, Marte Mapu. You have the whole Jabril Peppers thing. Kyle Duggar's banged up. Marte Mapu came back and looked really good.
Yep.
It kind of threw me off at first. When I first saw him, I was like, wait, who's 15? I was like, oh, he changed his number. Got my favorite number, so that's cool. Yeah, I just want to shout out Marte Mapu. Why not? He's good.
Fair enough. Would you put him as an honorable stud?
And yeah, we'll get to our consensus number 1 dud as well.
Yeah, I'm sticking with the edge rushers though for my number 2. Keon White, a guy that started off the year very, very good. We had high hopes for. I don't know if it's too crazy to say. At least for me, I feel like he has gotten worse as the season's gone on. Like watching him out there, starting to freestyle a little bit too much, missing tackles. Last couple weeks have been really bad. He wasn't as bad in this game. 2 tackles, 1 quarterback hit, had a pass deflection as well on 57 snaps played. But his reason for being on the duds list was the amount of dumb penalties he took in this game. Had a horse collar tackle on the Raheem Mostert 8-yard run in the 3rd quarter. That obviously helped move the ball into New England territory. 3 plays later, took a roughing the passer penalty on 3rd and 6. That was incompletion. That set up Miami's field goal to make it 10-6. And then going back, I can't remember if it was Maserati that tweeted this out. Somebody that covers the Patriots tweeted it out. a video of, I think, the 2-point conversion attempt that Huntley had. He should have been called for another roughing the passer on that because he completely barreled him over unnecessarily on the sideline as well. So Keon White, again, had high hopes for him to start this year. It has kind of gone south pretty quickly these last couple weeks. He has not really been the same player that I feel like we had at the start of the year with him. And maybe that's just because obviously, he wants to go out there, and I'm not saying he's playing for himself or anything as a selfish player, but like there's times where you watch him out there, if you watch him closely and you're like, dude, like just make the routine tackles, make the routine plays. Don't try to, get too fancy here, hit your gaps. And he just hasn't been doing that. And that's kind of alarming and a little worrying with a guy that we're leaning pretty heavily on with the defense and how it is right now.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a highs and lows situation, hasn't it? Yeah, and I mean the highs were like really good.
They're really
like,
high and the lows are really low.
promising. Like maybe a guy that can be in the upper echelon of sack totals in league. Yeah, I mean, and for a team that you're facing the Texans coming up and they can get a lot of pressure. They're one of the best in the league.
Yep.
In a lot of categories they are when it comes to pressure. You're going to need him to reciprocate that a little bit on the Patriots side. And good opportunity, good opponent for him to bounce back against, hopefully, this upcoming week.
Absolutely.
And like studs, we have a consensus number one.
Yeah, it's no surprise here. The offensive line, Nick Leverett. Yep, this is from Mark Daniels, who covers obviously the Patriots. Nick Leverett had a sack allowed, 3 hits, a holding penalty, and a false start penalty as well. The false start turned a 3rd and 1 into a 3rd and 5, which of course wasn't converted because, again, if you're the Patriots offense, you can't be going backwards with how bad this offense is. A 3rd and 1 is hard enough to accomplish, let alone a 3rd and 5. And then the holding penalty was on a 1st down, which turned to 1st and 10 into a 1st and 19. And again, same thing goes there. Like you are putting yourself way behind the 8 ball more than you already are if you're having to go from 1st and 10 to 1st and 19. The offensive line, we know we sound like a broken record here. Everybody does, just talking about how bad it is. It's going to be a work in progress as the season goes on, especially with no David Andrews. You would have liked Nick Leverett to come back and give some stability. Obviously, being a guy that has played, or has had some experience, but it was not good. And again, you could really put the entire offensive line at the number 1 spot. We could have done it for the last 4 weeks because it has just not been pretty.
Yeah, and like I'll cut him a little bit of slack despite him being the number 1 dud, like a guy that's in an unfamiliar position, but like guy that's been in the league a little bit, you'd hope he'd be a little better. And of course, with a rookie quarterback coming in next week, he needs to be a lot sharper. It's tough. Maybe a Boston College Eagle will save them. They brought in Alec Lindstrom for a workout. I really enjoyed Alec Lindstrom's play when he was at BC. Of course, his brother, also a lineman, is on the Atlanta Falcons, and he's pretty solid. So Alec Lindstrom is what I'm saying is Alec Lindstrom is the future starting center of
the savior
of the New England Patriots. Yep. Jokes aside, I would like to see him like dress for a game. That would be cool. I can't think of the last BC Eagle dress for the Patriots. Holy fuck. That'd be a tough trivia question. Yeah, I mean, Leverett was bad, really bad. Like, just a guy that is in a rough spot and not playing well. On top of that,
God no.
Yeah, turnstile. He's a turnstile.
Mm-hmm.
Number 1 dude.
The whole offensive line is outside of Onwenu, who's had his moments. He's gotten a little better here over the last couple of weeks, but it's nothing great. And now you're putting a rookie quarterback into that situation. Again, we'll talk about that more so when we get to the Texans stuff. Really, no takeaways in this game for me other than what we already know. Like, this team's bad. I don't know how much better.
Talked about takeaways too, like with the offense a little bit, the receivers, like
exactly
certain things. Otherwise, like
so coaching staff's got to get it figured out because again, you and I are both kind of in agreement here that they have not been ready to go these last couple weeks, and that's been very alarming to see. Like, obviously, again, I want to go back to the Cincinnati game, but like with how well that looked, that operation looked week 1, and it's just gotten progressively worse as the season's gone on. Like, that is something that needs to get figured out very quickly. And I don't have a lot of faith that it's going to. Like, again, I like Gerard Mayo. I have high hopes for him, but he is doing nothing right now to instill a lot of confidence, and really nobody in their coaching staff is.
Yeah, there haven't been moments where you're like, oh, that was a great scheme by Mayo, like, great decision, great this, great that. Yeah, that needs to change. Like, he doesn't need to light the world on fire and put on a coaching masterclass, but like, it's been pretty unimpressive by his staff. as a whole. And I don't want to, throw everybody into the bus there, but like as a whole, it's been rough, and it was projected to be rough, but they're bad and they should be, but there is a higher level they can hit. That there is no doubt about that.
For sure.
Shall we switch focus to Houston?
Absolutely, because a game that maybe didn't look too big on the schedule at the start is looking a little better, or maybe not as bad. I'll put it that way. With Drake Maye now at the helm for the Patriots.
Yeah, I mean,
your thoughts on that? Was this the right time to do this? Because I have some thoughts.
No.
I will defer. Okay, so we're both in agreement there.
Okay. I'm very excited for him to wear the red.
As am I. That's the perfect time to do it, right? Get the throwback, get Drake Maye in there. Yep.
That's what they've been planning the whole time. They just want people to see the red jerseys, Drake Maye, jersey sales. Conspiracy.
They had to make up for the last red jerseys. We had to watch Bailey Zappi. I'm not going to say rock those things because
Lord Almighty, why? No, I'm just exaggerating.
I don't think you are. It was bad.
It was bad. Houston's 7-point favorites, as they should be. You gotta hope mobility, pocket presence, and smarts and pure football ability will be enough to save Drake Maye from being completely slaughtered in this game. They could have done it last week, as we said. They could have waited till the Jacksonville game. But do the Patriots want Drake Maye's first start to be overseas in the morning?
Yeah.
Probably not. So I don't know if that was really an option. But at this rate, he's going to start that game if he stays healthy. Knock on wood. So
we're halfway to a Drake Maye Mac Jones game. Sorry to cut you off, but that was a talking point at the start of the year.
Please.
Halfway there.
Please.
I don't wish it will on anybody, but if Trevor Lawrence has to miss that game with like a sprained ankle.
Twist your ankle.
Yep. Perfect. Glad we both got the same injury.
Same brain trust. Yep. Please, just twist your ankle. You don't have to break it, nothing bad. Just twist your ankle, Trevor, would it be better if Mac Jones started or if Trevor Lawrence, like on the first series, twisted his ankle and Mac came in?
No, I think you lead into that game with the storyline of it's Drake Maye versus Mac Jones.
I'm giving that one a little bit of the edge too, but both are appealing. The over-under is 38.5. Interesting number. Not that I expected it to be too different, but maybe that gets like
a lot of 40.5,
maybe
will belong to
40
Houston,
and a half,
I feel like
41.5. I would kind of expect that number. Yeah, I mean, it's a bad matchup. You're seeing CJ Stroud against Patriots for the first time. You will not be seeing Nico Collins, who is on IR, which is big. He is very, very good. So he will not be there. Tank Devil needs to step up. And Stephon Diggs has been an awesome fit. So I think
very
he will
good.
continue
Good
to.
Yep.
But Christian Gonzalez might have something to say about that. We shall see. Excited. I mean, that's just a reason to watch the Patriots every week is Christian Gonzalez. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not necessarily expecting the Patriots to get blown out. I'm just expecting things to be ugly. So that's where I'm at. But the Texans are very scary on defense. They have a ton of playmakers now. They have young playmakers like Petrie. Kalen Bullock's been great as a rookie. Derek Stingley is really good. They got Azeez Al-Shaair now, veteran. Henry Tuo. I don't remember exactly how to say it. I think that's how you say it, though. The Bama kid. He leads them in tackles. Foley Fatukasi can make plays. Neil Hunter is great. They got Will Anderson. Like the list of names is ridiculous. Kamari Lassiter has been making plays as a rookie. Jalen Petrie's excellent already as a second-year player. They have a scary group of dudes, and this is a team that had Jonathan Grenard break out and go to Minnesota, and they have not missed a step. They have replaced his production. They have drafted well, and they have put together a formidable defense that I'm pretty sure has the best pressure rate in the NFL.
Yes, it does.
And the Patriots allow the most pressure.
Worst. Yep.
Yes, expected. We expected that, but yeah, I mean, even without Joe Mixon, probably as well, and Nico Collins, they're a scary offense too.
Yep.
Like CJ can make plays. CJ might feast. We'll see how much he can get the ball to Stephon Diggs though. So I imagine, we'll see a little more Gonzalez on him than Tank Dell, but we'll see how they can neutralize Tank Dell, because this could be a big opportunity for him too. He's been kind of the third fiddle, so we'll see how he looks. And of course, the Patriots, for coverage in general, won't have Jabril Peppers for the foreseeable future. So that throws things off a little bit as well from a leadership standpoint and just a skill standpoint, because Jabril Peppers is a good football player who found himself in some trouble. So,
any thoughts on that? Well, just really quick, we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on it. I just, while you mentioned it, any overarching thoughts on that situation? You're kind of in wait and see mode, because I feel like with what's come out about that now, it's kind of turned into a he said, she said type of situation. So really not going to speculate a whole lot on that. But definitely not a great position to put yourself in if you're Jabril Peppers. That's kind of my thought on it. Like, this is the first year I think named a captain, right? It's like you're kind of looking to be that veteran leader guy that this team needs, and like this is the situation that you're in. Like, again, like obviously not going to speculate too much on it, but just not a great situation overall. And you hope things kind of get cleared up, but who knows at this point with the way what's come out.
Yeah. And I think he said, she said, like you said, is the good blanket term for this, because, things look pretty ugly with what came out first, but now there's conflicting things. I mean, his defense team sounds pretty confident that,
So
they're in the right
video
here,
that like clears everything. So
yeah, which is common, people say that. Sometimes it's true, sometimes it's not. But yeah, I mean, we'll wait to see what happens. Regardless, the possession of cocaine is not good. So that's one definitely bad thing.
One knock immediately. Yep.
One big time knock. Shouldn't have cocaine on you. So sorry.
Did you hear what happened? What the situation with that was? How they found it?
Maybe.
I could have sworn I heard. I think it was either Zolak and Bertrand or Felger Maz listened to them the other day. They were discussing it, and they basically said like when the cops came, he ran back into the house to get his phone before they took him away, and like grabbed the bag of cocaine, put it on his person. So when they got to the police station and searched him, they were like, "Dude, what is this? Like, why do you?" So how stupid can you be? Like, obviously they were gonna find that if they ended up searching your house, but like to go in, grab it, and think like, "Oh, I need to take this with me before I." Like, again, I heard that briefly, so I don't know if it's like 100% true or not.
Yeah,
I'd have to assume it is if it was being, talked about on, on the air. But like, if that's the case, then that just kind of shows, like, that kind of takes Jabril Peppers' brain down a peg for me, being like, you maybe just could have left that there. Maybe they don't find it, but they probably do.
Yeah.
But no, put it on your person as they search you. To then they really are like, okay, well, now we're going to book you for this too, along with all the alleged stuff that has already come out.
Yeah, it's just, that's really weird if that's true that he did that. Like really, really weird. Yeah, it's ugly regardless of who's in the right, who's in the wrong. So we'll see what happens with the legal proceedings go as they may. But yeah, I mean, I'm not maybe as super worried about Drake Maye getting killed as some. I'll be honest,
I'm
because
one of those people.
I am very worried. Like, I will say that the thought of him just getting pummeled worries me a lot. But like, I think he's smart and mobile. Like, I kind of hope he'll just be getting rid of the ball quick and not like do what Jacoby Brissett's been doing, like take every hit. He'll be able to move around a little bit. They'll design run plays for him. So sometimes he doesn't have to find someone that's open. He can just like find some room to run and use his legs. I hope that's the case. I don't know if that'll be the case, but
weary.
Yeah, like, and he's a better thrower. He throws well across the field. He's got a great arm across the middle of the field. He'll get the ball quicker. He's sharper as a football player. He's intelligent. I don't know, and like he's gonna be fired up. Like, he's at home wearing the throwback uniforms. Like, it's a kid saying he's ready to prove people wrong. Like, which anyone can do, but
Bro, yeah, a lot of people could say that too.
I like the confidence. I like how he handles himself. Like, I don't know. I think he's gonna have plays that surprise us.
Oh, I don't doubt that either.
But he's gonna get smoked. Like, I want that to be abundantly clear.
Don't doubt that either.
Yeah.
Like,
That's definitely going to still be a factor, even if he's
mhm.
making some plays. He's going to get smoked.
Yep.
But I mean, friend of mine, friend of the program, I think Pat said this, joked, or maybe it was Chuck. Josh Allen had 9 completions last week against Houston on 30 passes. If Drake May has over 9 completions, he's already better than Josh
Better
Allen,
than
which is
Josh Allen.
good.
Well, that's
Um,
I glad you brought that up because I was trying to figure out a way to bring it up too. Like that's what worries me too. Like I'm with you. We briefly talked about it. We both think this is a bad move. Both obviously excited to see Drake May, but like for me, this is not the situation to put him in. And I do find it funny. Not that I've been like scouring Twitter, being like, okay, all the people that wanted Mac Jones, all the people that wanted Drake May as the quarterback, kind of what's their reaction to this now? I really haven't seen anybody that's like, yeah, this is the right decision to do this. I feel like everyone's kind of either been like, this is a
you could have
horrible.
done it last week.
Exactly. I see like a lot of people have been like, this is a horrible spot to put him in. This is a bad decision. This is a knee jerk decision, which I fall into that category. Like, I feel like the pressure's on the Patriots.
Also,
This
this
is
game's on the road. He's not starting.
no, God, no. A great point there too.
Also, like, Gerard Mayo was upset that it got leaked. It never would have got leaked this soon under Belichick. Like, I hate to be
Yep.
that guy, but it's
No, I
true.
agree with you. Yep, 100%.
Like, dude, you hate to see it leaked. Like, you're the one who controls that.
Well, that's the thing too, and that's
You
why
do
like
that now.
I'm starting not
You
again. I
need to
don't want
control
to.
that now. It's not Bill anymore. It's
But
you.
that's the thing too, is why I've grown weary on this coaching staff because he has handled these situations incredibly poorly. Like the
Yeah, he
Brissett
has.
announcement at the start of the year was weird. It was like the 25-second interview or whatever that was, or maybe a
Oh
minute.
God, yeah.
That was horribly done. Couldn't think of the word there. Just the whole lead up to it, the discussion of is going to be May, is it going to be Brissett, really giving you nothing on that, which he doesn't have to do. But again, he said some things you probably shouldn't have, or didn't say things. And then just every week, when he was asked about is Brissett still the quarterback, really didn't give you a reason why Brissett is still the quarterback. Like he's just like, yep, Jacoby's our guy. But like you
Yeah.
don't really go into any description of why you think he's still the right guy, why, and now all of a sudden now Drake May is the guy. Like I feel like this has been discussed too. Like if you win the game last week against Miami, do you think they go to Jacoby or go to Drake May in this spot? Because I probably don't. Like I think you still get one more week of Brissett. You probably get London with Brissett as well, depending on how. It doesn't matter how this game would have went. So this is why I think it's a knee jerk reaction. Like you lost the way you did last week. Something has to change. You're not going to blow any coaches out yet. And again, like I don't think Brissett, he hasn't played great. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think he's done really anything to lose his job that we didn't expect him to. Like we knew he was going to be the sacrificial lamb coming into this year.
Yeah.
We knew it was going to look rough. So those things have happened, and now it's Jacoby Brissett's fault that you're 1-4 and the season has been crappy. Like that's how I look at it too. I don't want to make excuses for him because again, his play hasn't been great, but the whole situation could have been handled better. And again, we're both in agreement here that while we're excited to see Drake May play this game, it is not the spot to put a rookie quarterback in when you have no offensive line and you're still trying to figure out your offense as a whole.
Yeah, and the funny thing about it too, like, which lends more credence to starting him against Miami. You have a great defense he has to deal with now. We know that. Could have started in Miami. Starting him in London wasn't really realistic. I don't think
No.
the team would want to do that. I don't think you
Nope.
put a rookie quarterback traveling to London for potentially like the first time, maybe traveling over to that area of the world for the first time.
Yeah,
Jet
absolutely.
lag, other factors. You want him out of clear head home game.
The matchup is good against
Then,
Jacksonville, but the situation is not.
yeah. Then if you didn't start him Miami or Houston and Jacksonville, which is never really an option, then if you want to start him after Jacksonville, you have the Jets at home, who also get a lot of pressure on quarterbacks.
Yep.
So you kind of fucked yourself. Like you
And you saw
really
what Drake
should have
May looked like
started him.
against the Jets. Like
You
it
really
didn't
should
mean
have started
anything,
him.
but
You really should have started him against Miami.
yeah,
Because that gives you the sure he would have got hit in that game too, but that gives you the easiest situation given how Miami looks this year. They don't have much of a pass rush. Yeah, like who did they have in week 9? Like who would it have been in week 9? Now I want to know. They have the Titans. Like the Titans, is that game at home or is that in Tennessee? That's
I think
the
it's in
Titans.
Tennessee. Yep.
Like,
But that would have
sure,
been a better spot than
you can start him in
Houston.
Tennessee. He's a Southern kid.
Yep, there you go.
Maybe that's like a fine, like, okay, like we want him to start at home first, but like he's playing Tennessee at Tennessee. That's not the worst.
Yep.
And then you have the Bears, like
Bears defense
at
has been
Soldier
good.
Field. Yeah, Bears defense has been good.
Yeah.
Like, you kind of screwed yourself in terms of matchup stuff for his first
Absolutely.
time, and you're at home against Miami. Like, that just adds to it too. Home game, fuck.
That's why again I look at it as like, man, Brissett got a raw deal because like again he hadn't done anything in the first 4 weeks of the year. Again, wasn't playing great, but like you don't bench him going to that Miami game because he hadn't played that bad. So again, like the situation, there was really no win here for the Patriots to the way they do it. And again, I just think it was let's make a change here, see if something works, see if we get some sort of spark. But again, man, it's a bad situation to be in. Like you brought up, you make Josh Allen look as bad as he has looked in a long time. Like, what is Drake Maye going to look like? I hope on the joking side he plays better than Josh Allen, and then is looked at maybe is better than Josh Allen, like Pat or Truck said. But like I don't know how that's gonna even necessarily be the case. It'd be funny because obviously people compare him to Josh Allen. Like, what would you do if he came out and went 9 for 30 against the Texans? And it's like, wow, these two guys are literally the same player.
Yeah, it's funny because he has the Josh Allen comparisons from
That's
people
what I mean.
too.
Yep.
Texans 24, Patriots 17. Boring football score. Patriots put up points because they have a quarterback that is capable
Move the ball a little bit. Yep.
moves the ball a little bit. That opens things up. They put up some points. They play for their rookie quarterback. They wake up a little more, and hopefully the O-line can be somewhat serviceable. Yeah. 24-17 just feels like a boring Patriots or no, boring normal football score. And maybe some more points than people expect. I don't know. Maybe some people expect this to be low scoring. I have a little bit on the higher side, I guess. Mid.
As do I.
Yeah.
But I am sticking with you. I got the Texans taking it 27-16. I'm going to throw a bet in there as well. Give me Drake Maye anytime touchdown. I think maybe you see some RPOs in this game, a little bit of trickery. Obviously saw him score a rushing touchdown for his first NFL touchdown in the preseason. Maybe they get back to that, do that, and catch the Texans off guard here, but they're not going to catch them off guard for long because Houston's a better team all around, and they're going to win this game. Spoil Drake Maye's first NFL start.
Yep. And we'll see how the receivers can be schemed open for Drake Maye, but schemed around guys that are playing good, like Jalen Petrie will have an impact. Kalen Bullock, Derek Stingley, Mario Lassiter. They got a lot of youth and a lot of talent. Jimmy Ward, a little older, but it's going to be a little tough at times to get the receivers open too. So they got to be ready. They got to have the right game plan. So, week 6 predictions. We had all the same picks. You changed. I knew you would.
I saw a note that made me change.
Yeah.
In a certain game.
49ers tomorrow night. The Seahawks are kind of not like trouble, but they're losing some games. They started 3-0. I don't think a game against the 49ers, even at home, is the one that gets them back on the winning track. I just feel that way, and I'm going to pick the 49ers.
I'm going to take the 49ers, too. I think they're going to be a little mad coming off that game against Arizona. Kyle Shanahan once again showed, I saw somebody tweet this out, that he might be the worst fourth quarter coach in the NFL because he just does not know how to hold on to leads. Funny enough, in that Cardinals game, did you know it was Chad Ryland that was the guy that ended up beating the 49ers with a couple of big field goals? So that was interesting to see. But yeah, 49ers get back a little bit of revenge factor here coming off a loss. I think they take this one against the Seahawks. Should be a good game, though. Should be one of the better Thursday night games. Obviously, we get a great one last week, but should continue that trend.
Yes. Let's get another one. Seahawks and 49ers. Jaguars and Bears. This feels like one the Bears could lose. This is the Jaguars' second home. Of course.
It's true. Good point.
Advantage.
I didn't even think of that. Yeah. Yep.
I was joking, but
it's a good point though.
Maybe
you're onto something.
The Panthers game was perfect for the Bears, and this is where the offense starts to click like we expected it might.
That's really good. Yep.
I don't see why they don't win this game against the Jaguars for the most part. Like, part of me feels like I said, they might, but you got another potential duck. Take advantage. And Caleb Williams seems to be earning that respect in the huddle and with the veterans. So
yeah,
I like the Bears. And their defense could just crush Trevor Lawrence.
Absolutely. Right there with you. I agree. Bears look like they're starting to click. DeAndre Swift has finally gotten involved and has arrived for that team. DJ Moore got his revenge game last week. Maybe you get a little bit more out of Keenan Allen and Rome Odunze. I know they've been banged up at times, but that offense starts clicking. The defense has been excellent, and the Jaguars, um, you know, they're not a very good football team. I told you last week I felt gross picking them to win that game. Got lucky with them winning it, and I think they jump right back on the loser train this week against Chicago. It is an interesting point, though. I know you were joking, but I don't disagree with you that London second home for them, so maybe there's some juice there for them.
I don't know. I just like playing for pride too. You won one.
That's true too. Yep.
You're supposed to be better than you are. There's also that factor. I would have loved to pick the Commanders over the Ravens if the Commanders were at home.
I wanted to so bad, I just couldn't do it. Like, we've seen teams get humbled the last couple of weeks. Like, this feels like a spot the Commanders get humbled, and I hope not, because I love Jaden Daniels. He's been excellent so far this year. That team's kind of coming into its own, but
yeah,
at Baltimore, like, good luck.
Yeah, I don't know if it really happens here.
No,
but could be close. Packers and Cardinals. The Cardinals are just in this mold where, like, I feel like they're gonna win.
Yep.
Like, hey, they can sneak up on this team, maybe start hot, maybe they can hold on to it. Kyler Murray gets a little scrappy. Yeah, I don't know. I just picked the Packers and I don't feel good about it. I'll be real with you.
Okay, I wanted to pick the Cardinals, but I like the Packers defense a little bit better. I was gonna say Aaron Jones, but I was thinking Packers from a couple years ago. Josh Jacobs finally picked it up last week. Looked like his old self. Jaden Reed's been great. I think the Packers take this game. I think it'll be close, back and forth. It should be another good game, just like the 49ers-Cardinals game was last week. But the Packers find a way to squeak this one out. Plus, playing at home, that's going to be we've talked about that for a couple of games here. That's going to be a huge factor being at Lambeau.
Yeah, Romeo Doubs be involved this time after suspension.
Did he show up to practice? That's the big thing.
I don't know. That's a good point. Maybe he did. Maybe he didn't. Texans, Patriots, both picked the Texans. Bucks and Saints. Spencer Rattler in the Saints.
This game's going to be gross.
Yeah, I don't know. Like,
Saints suck. The Saints have proven to be frauds. Like, Buccaneers are good.
I kind of bought the Spencer Rattler cheese a little bit in the preseason.
Really? Okay.
A little bit.
All right.
Like, guy was once really highly touted. Maybe he finds the right fit and is a decent NFL quarterback. Are they going to beat the Bucks? I don't think so. But I don't know. Like, I don't think Spencer Rattler is going to get like cooked in this game.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't.
Okay.
Some people might feel the other way, but I like the Bucks regardless.
I do too.
But it's good for Spencer Rattler that he comes in, injury in this case, comes in a home game too. That'll probably help a little bit. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Taking a page out of the Patriots book, starting your young quarterback at home.
Yeah. Well, a little different with the injury though.
True. Yeah, I got you.
Man, I really, I'm not going to say I want the Browns to win because they have a fucking shitbag quarterback and they suck. But if Nick Sirianni lost the Browns and got fired, that would be so fucking funny.
Mm-hmm.
I'm picking the Eagles. They won't lose, right?
You'd almost I hope not. You'd almost have to fire in that sense. Like the I know people like there are bad teams in football. Like the Patriots stink. We know the Panthers stink. But like I was talking to a kid at work today, or yesterday, I think we were talking about this. The Browns are the worst situation in football. Like having that shithead as your quarterback for the next couple of years with the amount of money they owe him, and that team has nothing going for him. It doesn't seem like Stefanski can do anything about it because I don't know if you saw the clip of him wanting to go for it last week on fourth down. Meanwhile, Deshaun Watson is walking by him while the rest of the offense is out on the field. Like that is just such a shitty thing to do for Deshaun Watson. Like Stefanski was looking at him like, dude, are you serious? Like I'm calling a play here. Get back out there. So it leads to you to believe, who's really running that team, who's calling the shots. It doesn't seem like it's Stefanski, and doesn't seem like there's anything he can do about it. And you start to feel bad for that guy with the situation he's been put in. Obviously, a great story last year, getting to the playoffs with Joe Flacco. Now you're back with the idiot that is Deshaun Watson, and I don't like the Eagles, but I hope the Browns get steamrolled. Like I hope they lose every game by just a massive amount of points because that franchise is just so idiotic.
Jameis Winston, just give us Jameis.
Please, I don't, and that's why I said I don't think Stefanski's calling the shots because he's a moron if he thinks that Deshaun Watson is the answer over Jameis Winston, and I don't think he does. But again, that just shows that he has no control over that situation right now.
It's a good way to maybe get the QB to lock in a little bit. And I'm not saying Kevin Stefanski should be fired. You do have Mike Vrabel,
True. He's sitting in your back pocket. Yep. Good point.
very assertive and aggressive head coach. I don't know. Just saying they have him waiting there. Colts and Titans. Colts. I'm just still in on Joe Flacco, baby. Like I
Okay.
really am. Michael Pittman might be on IR sooner rather than later, so that's something to monitor. His status doesn't sound great for this week. Donnie Mitchell got involved a little bit last week, so maybe he's involved a little more this week with Pittman banged up. Josh Downs, Alec Pierce. We'll see if Jonathan Taylor plays. I just
Not
like the
looking
Colts
like it
here.
right now.
I think the Titans are stinky.
I don't disagree with you, but there is one or two times I feel like every year with this Titans team where they win a game where you're sitting there afterwards watching it going, how the fuck did the Titans pull this game out? Like they had no business winning this game, and I think Will Levis stinks.
Will Levis moment. What's the Will Levis moment gonna
Good
be?
point. Yeah, this is gonna be a sideline moment. Gonna be
He's
a
gonna
pick,
be
a
like on it.
fumble.
He's gonna be like on his head, like
It's like
perfectly like on his head, like on the ground, like doing a headstand. Like he's gonna somehow end up in that position.
two great minds think alike. Because I was thinking like a freeze frame of like a not a beatboxer. That doesn't make any sense. Like a street performer, or that's not what I'm
Yeah,
trying to think
like
of, but like
spinning
a
on their
break
head.
dancer. I don't know why I couldn't think of
Yes.
break dancer. That's what it's gonna be. Is him? You're 100% right. Like on his helmet somehow without his hands. And the ball's gonna be going the other way for a pick six for the tight or for the Colts or a fumble.
No, it would be funny
Well,
if like he like ran a rushing touchdown in and like there's like unnecessary roughness in this, like a freeze frame of him getting like pushed into like the goalpost or something. And
yeah,
he's like
yeah,
like
yeah.
face smush into the goalpost. You
It's
just see
just it's a remake of that. Who the hell was it a couple of seasons ago? Was it a Cardinals game where they had the slow mo of the quarterback walking off the field, and then it was the guy diving behind him into the end zone for the
oh
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
I don't know what team that was, but I know what you're talking
yeah.
about
It'll be
now.
something like that where it's a slow mo and it's him just getting fucking shoved right in the back and him just sprawling out. It's like good point. We got to
Oh,
figure out that'll be a reason to watch that game. Is what's the next Will Levis moment? All that being said,
oh.
I was right with my disgusting pick last week. Maybe I'll do this for the rest of the year. Find one game that's disgusting and pick the team that shouldn't win. Did that with the
Yeah.
Jaguars last week. I'm doing it with the Titans this week because, like you said, potentially no Anthony Richardson, potentially no Michael Pittman, and Jonathan Taylor didn't practice again today. So those are the three big hitters for the Colts. A little scary. I'm with you. I think Joe Flacco can still sling it. But the Titans find a way to win this game. Gross.
Yuck. Chargers at Broncos. Couple former Ducks going against each other for the first time in the NFL. I'm going with the Duck that is the better football player in Justin Herbert in the Chargers. They will win a gross game here. I anticipated their gross running style offense to include Gus Edwards more. That unfortunately has not happened.
Yeah, he hasn't been
They just
utilized at
don't
all, I
use
feel
him.
like. Yeah.
Yeah, the Chargers will win this game ugly and close.
I'm right there with you. I like Harbaugh. I mean, I think the Harbaugh factor, two good coaches, but I think Harbaugh outweighs Peyton in this situation. I think that the Chargers take this. Plus, the Broncos need to start losing some games. I took their under 5.5 wins on the season, and they look like a not terrible football team right now. So the Chargers got to find a way to hand them another loss, and I think they will.
Yeah, I mean, this game just has gross written all over it.
Yep.
So do Steelers and Raiders. Devontae Adams has not been traded yet, somewhat surprisingly.
Aiden O'Connell is the new quarterback in Las Vegas.
Aiden O'Connell's the new quarterback. Kay Adams tweeted that she was having Devontae Adams on. Then
Yeah,
like
she
30 minutes
stirred some
later,
waters. Yep.
said he wasn't. And I was like, okay, maybe this is happening soon. He's gonna be a Jet, probably.
Seems like it. Yep.
Christian Wilkins is also on IR, so that just hurts the Raiders even more. This might not be a gross Steelers win. This might be like the Steelers winning by like 10 points.
Really? You think they're gonna run away with this?
The
They
Raiders
maybe
are just,
consider 10
the
points
Raiders
run
are
away.
just, the Raiders
They're
are just
bad, but
busted. They're busted right now.
yeah, part of me thinks like, okay, you're gonna get a little bit of a spark from a quarterback change. O'Connell wasn't terrible last year, but also wasn't great. But then you remember, like you said, Devontae Adams is probably not going to play. So Jacoby Myers, I think, didn't practice today because he's dealing with an ankle injury. Zamir White's not 100%. So like, what is the Raiders offense? It's Brock Bowers and Alexander Madison. Yeah. Like, so
Trey Tucker.
yeah, he's been decent this year, but I'm with you. I think the Steelers pulled this one out pretty easily. Seems like Justin Fields is good to go. He's not banged up or anything. I know he either left or got hurt in the last game. But he's good to go. Steelers find a way to win this game.
Yes, I agree. The Falcons might have been made alive by Kirk Cousins, going for 500 plus yards. Made alive. I don't know, Ryan.
Brought to life.
Falcons and Panthers. Yeah, I don't know, man. Falcons and Panthers. The Falcons will win this game. The Panthers still stink. Yeah, I mean, maybe this is bad news for my 7-win Falcons team prediction because Kirk Cousins might have injected some life. And they're going to win this game.
Scrappy football team.
Scrappy football team. It would be fitting if they lost, though.
Absolutely.
Let's just say that as we commonly say about the Falcons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think the Falcons found a way to win this game. I said it a couple weeks ago. I don't care who's the quarterback, who's playing for the Panthers. I just can't in my right mind. I know I've picked some gross games the last couple weeks. Can't pick the Panthers to win any of these games right now until something drastically changes with that team.
Yeah, they suck. Lions and Cowboys. Lions. I'm not picking the Cowboys in any situation in this game. Nope. Especially Lions, like not the greatest start to the season. Then they come off the bye now, after a swaggy little win against Seattle in a great game.
Huge controversy the last time they played Dallas in Dallas.
They might start to roll.
They got revenge on their minds. That was the not ineligible guy. Who was the lineman for the Lions that didn't report, or they claimed didn't report on? The lineman that always gets a standing ovation whenever he comes into the game because of that one situation.
No, forget.
But
did you see Frank Ragnow proved? I think he's he doesn't have a pec injury anymore because he pushed Dan Campbell really hard to prove it.
I did not see that.
That's awesome.
That's
so
such
awesome.
a Lions and Dan Campbell thing, though. Yeah,
Dan Campbell probably like, "Fuck yeah, dude!
Yeah. He's back, baby!
Yeah, football!
Yeah, yep.
You want to go get some buffalo wings? Drink beer?
Such a football guy. Go to what's the commercials in the Chili's? Chili's, right? Yeah.
Oh, Dan Campbell.
Great commercial. Yeah, I'm with you, Lions. I can't pick the Cowboys. I don't care that they're at home. Lions are the better all-around team right now.
Yeah, I want them to stomp the Cowboys.
As do I.
The Bengals, it's really odd, but not odd to see the Bengals at 1-4. Is that correct? Are they actually 1-4?
Yes. Yep.
Oh my God. I had to double take. I just talked myself into that not being real for a sec. Bengals and Giants. This is where the Giants are oh yeah, we beat the Seahawks, but then they lose to the Bengals. The Bengals, they're 1-4, but Jamar Chase is rolling. They have a more often than not kind of effective running game. Zach Moss a little banged up, but
Chase Brown looked good.
Chase Brown's very fast. They don't lose this to the Giants, right? That's what people said last week.
I hope not. Exactly. I hope not. But if they do, the Bengals pack it up, your season's over. You're 1-5, you're not coming back. I texted you the other day.
If it gets bad enough for the Bengals, they should trade T. Higgins.
Oh, absolutely.
And that would 100%. Jamar Chase would hate that, but
yep.
God.
What else can you really do though? You're 1-5, your season's over.
Why are you 1-4? Jesus.
Defense is atrocious. Joe Burrow's out here throwing for 5 touchdowns and 400 yards or whatever it was last week, and back-to-back weeks of excellent quarterback play, and they've lost both times. So
it's brutal, dude.
And then you lose to the Patriots to start the year, which is not a great look either. So
yeah, that's a bad one.
This is a game too. Really quick, because I did see a TikTok about it. Again, I don't know how true it was because you can't trust anything on TikTok. This should be flexed out of prime time. I don't know if it's too early in the year to flex games out of prime time. The TikTok I saw was that I thought the guy I watched said CBS was trying to put, or somebody was trying to put Commanders and Ravens as a Sunday Night Football game, and CBS was no, we're not doing that.
Or Lions and Cowboys since it's a later window.
Yeah, again, I've had this conversation with my dad plenty of times, and he's always the schedule gets made before the year. Okay, who in their right mind puts Bengals and Giants as a Sunday Night Football game? Who cares? Those aren't rivals. They're two, teams that don't play on the same conference. That's a dumb Sunday Night Football game.
You can put Joe Burrow against Daniel Jones. You have to in prime time. That's what they
Yes,
always
I
say.
guess. Yeah, you can put Joe Burrow on primetime as much as you like. Like, I agree with that. But there was
Maybe
no
they just
storyline.
anticipated Malik Neighbors being healthy. That was part of it.
Maybe,
Which is
but
not the case.
is that really a storyline to make it?
No, no, no,
Especially
no.
again when you have Lions Cowboys, like you mentioned, and
Yeah,
what happened last year. Like that makes
yeah. I'm
more
just
sense. I know Commanders Ravens at the start of the year wasn't a game that a lot of people would have gotten high for, but now again, I don't think it's too early to start flexing games. So flex
yeah,
one of those two games in the Sunday night spot because the others, the other option is just not good.
yeah. I'm with you. I have an asterisk next to the Bills for the
Yeah, I'm
Monday Night Football
curious
game,
as to
and I don't.
why.
I just put it there to make a note of potential players that are going to be out.
Okay,
I'm
who's
not
out for
going to change
Buffalo?
my pick in this event. Like James Cook might not play, Khalil Shakir might not play, Curtis Samuel might not play,
Okay, it's
and I think
mostly
there's
their
like one other
offense.
big name. So yeah, that's bad. But like, I don't know. I don't have any faith in the Jets. I might just pick the Bills regardless. I'm just gonna keep Bills. Who the fuck cares?
Okay, I am a little
I
worried
don't like
about
the
that
Jets
now
right
too. And
now.
now
Ugh.
any thoughts on a spark of a coaching change? Maybe propels the Jets to win this game.
Maybe.
There's one overall factor why I'm not picking the Jets, and it is because I think Aaron Rodgers is washed. He sucks. He's not a good quarterback now. And that team is reeling, and they can't figure out how to use Brees Hall correctly for some reason. They want Braylon Allen's a good running back, but they want to use him way too much now. All of a sudden, just get Brees Hall involved more. And you saw obviously what the offense can do when you use Garrett Wilson correctly. Not that I'm saying that I want the Jets to win this game, but like that is how you should be operating as an offense. But I'm taking Buffalo. Bills need to bounce back here. They've had two humbling weeks in a row. They got to get things figured out, and I think they will in this game.
Me too, good buddy. I can't really pick the Jets in many situations right now, so I won't.
Any
Uh
thoughts on that decision to get rid of, like I texted you, my Super Bowl pick in the Bengals and my head coach of the year pick in Robert Saleh looking great? I think I should be putting time out when it comes to talking about
yeah.
football with those two decisions so far this year.
Official Ryan timeout. First
Yep.
one.
Mm-hmm.
There you have it.
Can't say anything for the rest of the show. This is you. You need to
Yeah,
close this
like
thing out.
I don't know. Like it hasn't worked with Robert Saleh for the Jets. And then you have a healthy Aaron Rodgers, who I imagine contributed to this in some capacity.
Well, he claims he didn't. He had nothing to do with it. He
He
said,
definitely did. That
"Yeah."
is a lie.
Especially when the
I'm just
report
putting
comes
that out
out.
there. It's
Especially when the
Aaron fucking
report,
Rodgers. Like,
yeah, I don't mean to cut you off, but I was just gonna say because it feeds into the discussion of especially when the report comes out. Again, I don't know how true it was, if it was disputed or not. But I don't know if you saw that apparently Robert Saleh was on the verge of like firing. Why can't I think of their offensive coordinator? Hackett, the
Hackett.
offensive coordinator, and then moments later it was Saleh that was taken out of the building. So, Hackett, Aaron Rodgers guy was gonna get fired. Now it's Saleh that gets the boot.
The weird
You
thing is,
you
like,
tell
I don't
me.
even know if Aaron Rodgers likes Nate Hackett anymore. Like,
Fair, yep. But again, it's an Aaron Rodgers guy, so like
I
just
don't
kind of
know.
take it as it is. Like
I feel like we've seen a couple times of like Rodgers like looking at him weird, like what the fuck are you talking about? A couple times, like
true,
I don't
but I
know.
feel like
I don't know if
that's just
that
kind of Aaron
relationship still
Rodgers at
is
this
strong.
point.
This is who he
Yeah,
is. Like,
yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Like, I feel like if it gets bad enough under Aaron Rodgers, like you're making that decision sooner than you might like. So that's
Fair.
it. Like, I don't think Robert Saleh is like a great coach though. So
No, really hadn't proved anything. I mean, people gave him the benefit of the
no,
doubt the first couple of years because of injuries and stuff like that. But obviously last year with
their
the Rodgers
defense is good
injury.
though. So you got to give him credit for that in
But
some
that's the thing too.
capacity.
It's like you were good defensively, so you go from a defensive minded head coach to their interim guy as a former linebacker. So you're going from a defensive minded coach to a defensive minded coach, and
Yeah.
how much of that's really going to change exactly? Like you think they would have maybe tried to. Obviously, I don't think you're going to promote Nathaniel Hackett at this point, but like maybe try to get a different offensive look or a more offensive minded guy in there. But I don't know. Again, I'm not
No.
saying that I'm rooting for the Jets to turn things around. Um, even though I did pick them to win the division. So three terrible picks for me right there. Bengals
Dude, I
Super
picked the
Bowl.
Dolphins. So like,
Yeah, that one. I think the Dolphins have a better chance of turning things around
yeah.
than the Jets. Like,
Yeah, maybe. Well, we don't know when Tua is going to be back,
true.
so that's
But
up in the air if he'll be back.
mhm.
Chiefs, Rams, Dolphins, and Vikings are on bye weeks this
Nope.
week. Um,
We did not do, I realized.
just ask Truck.
S Truck
If you've
what?
looked at his team, he has like 8 players on
Oh,
buys,
for fantasy.
and
Gotcha.
I am
Yep.
facing him this week.
There
So
you
if I
go.
lose, I might quit forever.
Yeah, that might be bad. But
Yeah.
I've definitely been in that spot before where you get a couple of guys on bye weeks and you still find a way to lose in that matchup. So not a great place to be, speaking from experience. I realized we did not do a week 5 recap for the sake of time. Not going to go back in time. Anything that stood out from you from this past week of football? We kind of touched on the bigger note of Salah getting fired.
Yeah, wait. Fuck. I told myself in my brain, it's like, oh, we'll do the recap after. I don't know why. I didn't even realize that was wrong.
We don't have to, because I mean,
We don't
most
have
of
to.
these
Yeah.
games were kind of like, I don't know, like I didn't
We
really
can
pay
just
attention to
highlight some
football
things.
this week that much, but a lot of these games kind of fell into the same mode of like kind of blowouts in some situations. A couple of good, like the
The
Bengals
the
Ravens
London
game was
game was a
good.
fart.
London
Like,
games sucked. I feel like most of them do in that sense.
um,
Like,
Bears looked like first really good Caleb Williams game, looking like what Caleb Williams can be. Roshan and DeAndre Swift were good too.
yep.
Like Ravens Bengals was great, like a great QB
Up
duel.
until
That
the end, Zach
yeah,
Taylor
the
being a
defense
moron.
thing, Zach Taylor not
Yep.
great. He might be on the hot seat. Yeah, I mean you let a for the Bengals' sake, Charlie Kolar, who's drafted as a blocking tight end, go 3 for 64 with a touchdown on you. That's not great.
Your play calling in
You let the
overtime
tight
was
you let the tight
atrocious.
end position besides Mark Andrews drop 3 touchdowns on you. Mark Andrews just like doesn't exist
He's a
anymore.
glorified left
Um,
tackle at this point.
Good Lord, what the hell happened there? That game was great. Texans and Bills was a solid grudge match game. Um,
Till the end again.
Jaguars and Colts were good for one of these awesome AFC South games that shouldn't be awesome every year. Like Trevor Lawrence had a career game. Tank Bigsby is like they are so much better when Tank Bigsby is on the field.
Seems
He's
like
better
it.
than Trevor Etienne or Travis Etienne right now. I'm thinking of the wrong Etienne. Um, Another amazing LSU receiver too, and BTJ. I mean, he's ridiculous. When Aaron Jones got hurt, I said to Matt, I had the Aaron Jones, Brian Thomas Jr., Brian Robinson Jr. touchdown parlay, Jonesy, BTJ, BRJ. Jonesy got hurt, not great. And then I'm
That was the
like,
end of
watch
that.
Brian Thomas Jr. and Brian Robinson Jr. will both score. They both scored relatively early. That's just life. Um, Commanders beat the bag out of the Browns. That was fun.
Mm-hmm.
Cardinals beat the 49ers. That was cool. I don't know if I watched more than 30 seconds of Raiders and Broncos. So that
Yeah,
game
right
just
there with you.
happened to
That was
me.
red zone for me, and that
One
was
of the only things I saw was the Pat Surtain big interception, and he had 2 of them. So I don't know what the other one was really like. Don't really care. Don't really like either of those teams. Um,
fair enough.
Packers and Rams didn't catch a ton of that either, like here and there, but Tucker Kraft went crazy. Kyron Williams, I mean, really good. Giants beat the Seahawks, Cowboys, Steelers, Saints, Chiefs. Like, I don't really have any crazy takeaways from those games. I fell asleep on the couch for Cowboys Steelers, so I really have nothing there.
I
I
didn't
saw
watch a
maybe
2 second of
2 plays.
that game. Yep.
Passed out on the
Could have
couch,
cared
woke up
less.
at
Hate both
2:30.
those teams.
The worst. I fucking hate waking up on the couch in the middle of the night so much.
Very disorienting. You don't know where
Oh,
you
I hate
are.
it. I wasn't even
Your neck
disoriented.
hurts. Like,
I was just like, damn it, dude.
yeah.
Like, damn it. I wish I was in my
And
bed
now,
for these
yeah, now,
4 hours.
that's true. Now you gotta get up. Your sleep schedule's a
Oh,
little screwed up now. You gotta go back to
God.
sleep. Like,
Luckily, I fell asleep quick. That
that's
was
good.
great.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
kind
Chiefs
of the
and
same boat
Saints
for
too.
me.
Like that.
Like Chiefs and Saints was gross. Everyone's like, oh, the Chiefs are, finding ways to win games. I texted my buddy this. As long as they have Patrick Mahomes, we talked about this last week too. They're gonna win. Like Patrick Mahomes needs to break his leg for the Chiefs to stink. Like they're just gonna find ways to win
Mahomes
games like
kind of a
this.
little stinky this season. A little
That's what
stinky.
he hasn't been
He
great, but
he
again,
still
they
makes Mahomes plays, but he's
exactly.
got
Yep.
6 touchdown passes and 6 picks.
Yep.
Little
Not
stinky.
yeah, not great, but again, they're gonna find
Little
ways to
stinky.
win. They're the modern day Patriots. Will they'll win games in the defense? They'll have guys. Travis Kelce has finally stepped back up. Kareem Hunt's looked great, even though he didn't play the first couple weeks of the season. Was looking for a team to play on. Fucking Juju Smith-Schuster goes 7 and 130. Like that's a joke.
Yeah, that was
But
hilarious.
and then of course you see people on Twitter that are like, "Oh, Juju Smith-Schuster has 130 yards in one game. The Patriots receivers as a whole have 100." Like, shut the fuck up. Like, know the situation. One guy's playing with Patrick Mahomes. The other is a team with no quarterback right now and just no offense scheme in general. So figure
Yeah,
that
and
out. But
Derek Carr was making some fucking stupid throws.
how'd you
That
like the
that
just?
fucking airmail to Brian Cook was hilarious.
Yeah.
Like
Mm,
he like over a couple other overthrows too. I'm like, dude, like God damn it. Like,
What's the
you're
game?
actually
Did you
not
ever?
a bad football player, but then you just like decide you want to be bad.
Yeah. What's the game? I'm sure. Did you play it as a kid where you get a bunch of kids down? You're on the baseball field. You have the tennis ball. You just fucking chuck the thing into
Jackpot.
the. Thank you.
Jackpot.
Yep. That was what that pick
Oh
reminded me
my
of. It's
God.
just
Childhood
here.
memory unlocked.
Yep. Great game, but that's
Oh,
legitimately what he
great
did. Just
game.
like I'm gonna backpedal, throw off my
Yeah.
back foot, and just heave the thing, and hope to God a
Jackpot.
saint
Dead
comes
or
away with it.
alive. Jackpot. Dead or alive.
Yep.
Oh
Dead in
wow.
that
Oh
case.
wow.
Very, very
Dead.
dead. Yep.
Dead.
Not great. But yeah, I mean, there really wasn't
Fatality.
any other takeaways from last. Like we said, my
No,
big two
no.
takeaways was the Bengals and Zach Taylor. I'm with you. Should be on the hot seat. Idiotic play calling, 3 straight runs in overtime. And then the other guy that should be on the hot seat if the Bills continue to struggle is McDermott with his stupid play calling at the end of that game where you're passing the ball 3 times from your 5-yard line or whatever it was that set up the Texans game-winning field goal from Fairbairn. So very dumb coaching
Yeah.
decisions this week. Some real stinker games. Nothing too crazy to talk about with football this past week.
Yeah. Nothing too crazy. It's okay. You know what we also kind of forgot, Ryan, that we'll touch on late? We kind of forgot to talk about Jeremy Swayman's contract. I've been thinking about that all show.
That's right. Yeah, maybe the biggest storyline of the entire or start to the year.
I'll
Didn't
put this
touch
in the
on it
time log.
for a
I'll put a
second.
little Swayman note
We
at the end of the
we
time log.
touched on Igor Shesterkin's contract situation more so
Yeah.
than Jeremy Swayman's.
Prank.
Yep, gotcha.
Yeah, like I don't know, like a lot going on, big show tonight. Forgot.
Mhm.
As you know, at this point, Jeremy Swayman got $66 million reasons to come back.
He did? I
Um,
didn't know that.
what?
He did? I didn't know that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
gotcha.
it's fine. Like he got the Shesterkin deal. I was right.
It
I was
is what it
right.
is.
I
You
was right.
did.
I was
Yeah.
right.
We gotta
Um,
there's nothing like Sal Stradamus that rolls off the tongue really quick for you. Like Stradamus doesn't
it's
work.
just Mike Stradamus, I guess.
Like
I don't know.
Stradamus, that one's better. Okay.
I don't know.
What's your
Yeah,
middle name?
I don't know. Maybe suggestions. William.
That doesn't work either.
William Stradamus. That's
Will
pretty good.
Stradamus.
That's
Yeah.
pretty good.
Yep. There you go.
I don't know. Like it's fine. He got more than the 8. That kind of made sense at this point. It seemed like the 8x8 wasn't really working. Got it done. Hey,
Can't
like
complain.
we'll take it.
Had to be done.
Of course, seeing how things went with Corpusalo, we should feel a little more grateful.
Absolutely.
Oh my God, man.
I love the people that are like, you should have held out and he would have gotten paid $15 million a year, which not terrible. Like you definitely could have leveraged that more if you still weren't playing and were like, your goalie right now sucks. Like you need me.
Yeah. It's a fine deal. I'm really happy it got done. I hate that it took so long.
Yep.
I think the Neely comments gave the negotiations the kick in the pants that it needed.
For sure.
And the goalie's locked up. I mean, now you have him locked in, and I'll say this too on the topic of goalies. You should, if this continues to be a little ugly with Corpusalo, Brandon Bussey made it through waivers. And if he plays good, if he replaces Corpusalo and you need to send him down again, he might not make it through waivers next time. But maybe in the event you need to send Corpusalo down because he's not playing good, you have Swayman signed. So, like, obviously you wouldn't do that with Swayman signed, but, like, I'm not going to lie. Last night on the topic of goalies made me think, like, I'm ready to send Corpusalo down if he's going to suck.
Right there with you.
It's
like we just said earlier, don't want to get too high, too low after one game, but like that's something we will get a little too high or too low on.
He doesn't look like a confident goalie. He doesn't like exude confidence. He doesn't have good body language to me. Like, and he's a big goalie. Like, he covers up a lot of the net. It's just, it should give you more comfort that Swayman is signed now with the fact that Corpusalo struggled. Swayman, we know who he is. And you could be the Rangers trying to get Igor Shesterkin to sign for what's going to be over $11 million. And sure, they could come back to that number and be cool with 11. I don't think they will. But man, it could be worse. And hey,
for sure,
I like Olmark. The older goalie that you traded got paid the same amount. You got a younger goalie at more years. Obviously, Olmark was never going to get 7-8 years. He can't get 8 years anymore. But man, like, you have a 25-year-old goalie that his money is going to age well. You're already seeing a goalie that's going to get over $11 million. And you got yours at 25 years old, a guy that tore it up in the playoffs last year, outside of a couple Florida games where the dam kind of broke. That was bound to happen a little bit. You have him locked up for 8 years. That's good.
I have
That's
no problem
good.
with it.
You
Like
could have Korpisalo as your starter, and you would not make the playoffs.
No, you wouldn't sniff the playoffs with that guy as your starting goalie. Like,
no, it's it's good news for Jake Ottinger too. He's next. Yep. I imagine Ottinger probably gets either the same or like 8.5 at this rate. Maybe he's looking at 9. Maybe he's like, hey, Korpisalo or Shesterkin wants 11. Can I get closer to can I get at least 9?
Yep.
But I mean, same draft class as Swayman, both pretty productive. Ottinger a little more so, like more games under his belt, more playoff experience a little bit. But hey, we'll see how this affects the goalie market. We've already seen 2 goalie extensions signed in Olmark and Joey Decord. North Andover Mass kid signed 5 by I think 25 with Seattle. So Swayman, he signed. We're happy with it. Would have liked it to just be 8 by 8, but that wouldn't have made sense at this point, as we talked about last week. So 8.25, $250K extra. That's funny too, because we literally talked about it's unacceptable if Don Sweeney's nitpicking over $250,000.
Right.
It worked out. It was meant to be. Sometimes it's just nice to win one. It just feels nice to win one. That was my response to the Clips, Kevin Malone style on The Office. Jeremy Swayman is signed, and let's try and win a Stanley Cup.
You're here.
Because he wants to, and they want to, and he might just be the goalie that gets him one, because he's a psycho, and if he gets another chance at Florida, he might do the Toronto thing and just shut them down in the playoffs. Just putting it out there.
I like that a lot.
I like that. We're cool with it. Sorry we missed it. Got caught in the fray of all the fun NHL stuff we do on this episode every year. But it will be noted in the time log.
I imagine somebody sitting there like with their Bruins gear on, listening to the show, being like, "Wait, we like football? What?
What?
Just start freaking out in their room, flipping tables."
It's done. It took too long, but it's done, and hopefully we'll see him back. Only missing a game, maybe missing isn't the word, but missing a start he could have had, just one, and we'll see him tomorrow in the whole opener. For 8 years, Jeremy Swayman is your number 1 goalie. And that's good. And that's where we'll wrap up the show, unless you have any closing thoughts.
How many years into that contract do the Tuukka Rask haters turn on Jeremy Swayman? And now,
a lot of them already have. People hate Swayman for this whole negotiation.
Really? Oh my God! Our fan
you haven't
base
seen people
sucks.
on Twitter? People hate Swayman. People hate Swayman now. They're like, "Oh my God, I hate he thinks he's worth all this money. He's only had one playoff run, 152 games or whatever he's played." Like,
Bruins fan base fucking sucks.
Some of these people are so happy that they have a goalie to hate now.
Jesus Christ, that's awful.
It's the worst mindset ever. It's the worst mindset ever. Seriously, people.
How do you just wake up every day and just be pissed off at the dumbest things? It just never ceases to amaze me.
Yeah, there are people that have just completely turned on Swayman. It's
unbelievable.
Wow. I don't know. I put a little more on the agent. That's gonna wrap it up for Salvaggio and Cratty, episode 210. We are 10 episodes into the 200s. That's pretty cool. Thank you so much for listening. YouTube, Twitch, Spotify, Apple. You can rate and review there, follow on YouTube, Twitch, all those platforms as well. Podbean, Podchaser, maybe some other platforms we don't know about. On Twitter, you can find us at Mike_Cratty, at Ryan_Salvaggio, and the show at Salvaggio and Cratty Pod. And on TikTok, still the name of the podcast in there as well. We'll see you next week. We'll see if Drake Maye is alive. And we'll see if the Bruins have turned things around a little bit after a tough opening night and more. We'll be a little closer to NBA season too. We'll have that and a lot more. Maybe it's a little bit of baseball next week. I don't know. We'll see you then though. Peace. Stay safe, stay healthy, be nice people, all that good stuff. We will talk to you then.